Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's Michael B, and it's Monday, so you know what that means. Another chillin' chat with Michael B, and tonight, doing a heel turn. It's time to get rid of all these goddamn Arcade1Ups and get some real arcades in here. At least I've got somebody with me who did just that, and I want him to tell you his story and talk about how this weird and wild hobby of these, toy arcades that we bought turned into a kind of a gateway to buying real arcades. He's one of the nicest people in the community. I'm so excited to hang out with him tonight, and hopefully it's a fun conversation. Welcome to Chillin' Chat with Michael B. I always forget where this shit is. Nick Madsen, Nick Stalgia. Nick, my friend, thank you so much for being here. I asked Nick to be on here because he's reached out to me 2 times in the last couple weeks. The first was he was like, I'm sorry about this, but I gave something to somebody and you might see it in their video, but I want you to know we're cool. And I'm like, yeah, man, that's awesome. Don't worry about it. And then he wrote me the other day and he's like, yeah, I gave this example about how, you bought Tron, but that's not a good arcade. And I was like, that's cool too. I was like, how about you come on my show and we just hang out instead of you writing me this way? We can just be fun and friends. That's the best way to do it, right, buddy?
Absolutely, man. I didn't know you were going to throw me under the bus and hit the gas, but yeah, thanks for having me on the show, man.
Right under the bus. That's 100% what I do. We got super chats right off the bat. This is, oh, wait a minute. I'm in the wrong one. I'm trying to get it from my Facebook, my actual YouTube instead of there. OTG, I'm going to be on Danny's show, Cornercade show with OTG this Thursday. Looking forward to hanging out with OTG. I don't know if I've been on camera with OTG before either, so I'm looking forward to that. Nick is the nicest person ever. Excited for the stream, 100%. Nick is so the nicest person ever. My G.I. Joe collection agrees as well. What?
I got you all fooled.
You got us all fooled. I don't know about that, Nick. I think you're pretty nice. And we've also got a super chat here from Stringer Films. Here's your $2, where there's nothing choice, and who's that sexy man? That is Nick Stalgia, Nick Madsen, and I know your buddy Ralph is here earlier. He popped in for a little bit earlier as well. See if I can see him here. What's up, Retro Joe? Retro Ralph, good to see you, my man. Been a long time. So anyways, let's have some fun tonight, Nick. And you know what? Because we got a super chat, I haven't done this in a while, and people are judgmental of me doing this, but when we get super chats sometimes, you got to give the people what they want, Nick. So I'm going to throw this up here just for a minute, okay? I've been dying about that John D. John D video for the last couple days. I can't stop looking at it.
That's awesome.
Retro Joe says, Mike, do you have bootleg Oreos in Canada? Asking for a friend. I don't know, but I'm going to the grocery store tomorrow to find out. So, Nick,
I hear my little girl saying, hi, Dad, from upstairs because they're watching. So, hi, man.
Oh, that's awesome. My daughter doesn't watch. My daughter is a vapid narcissist and will only watch my videos if I put her in there some capacity. So that's why we've been doing the store surfing and stuff like that. So, anyways, Nick, this is super cool tonight. We've known each other a long time. We met in a community that actually came from Retro Ralph and Arcade1Up a long time ago. We all started watching back when this hobby was a little bit more fresh, a little bit more interesting. 1UP Weekly, like there was a huge thing. There used to be hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of people be in the chat. We'd be so excited. Maybe John D or somebody would be coming on, but we were talking to each other in the community. And yeah, from there, a lot of friendships have blossomed and stayed in touch with. Garage Gamer is another one. I always talk to him. He's recently stopped buying Arcade1Ups again. So yeah, there we go. Messiah, $10 super chat. You didn't need to do that, Messiah. Pinball money. And okay, that John D video again. The John D video is money, Messiah. That's the only reason I brought it back. just for one time. Anyways, Nick, I don't want to take the light off you. This show is mainly about you tonight and about us hanging out and having a conversation. So I wanted to get a little bit of history on you because I see behind you, you've got a plethora of real arcade machines there. And very far in the back, you've got quite the lineup of pinball machines, which I've got to admit I'm a little jealous of. I've got one of them, but I don't have the other two. And the other two are pretty tempting. So
Yeah, they're good ones, man. I feel very blessed to have what we have, and we have a lot of fun together as a family coming down here for family game nights. And pinball's what we've been flocking to the most, quite honestly.
it better be.
Yeah.
Your kids' college tuition right there. Good thing they hold value. I got to go back and sorry about doing this, but Messiah very specifically said, show the John D video again, and I got to give the people what they want. I got to. I don't have a choice. All right, last time, guys, it's off the table now. It was just a joke. Let's let it die. Let it die. All right. We're not here to talk about pinball. There'll be some pinball talk. I can't help it. I like pinball. I don't know what to tell you. All right, Nick, so let's talk about you. We met. We were all addicted to Arcade1Up. We're watching Arcade1Up weekly. We're all into this hobby. And you actually had a pretty significant Arcade1Up collection yourself at one point, right?
We sure did. Both walls were filled with Arcade1Up at one point.
I've actually got some pictures here that Nick was kind enough to send me earlier today, so let's kind of go through there. This is that arcade that you've got behind you originally. There it is, right there. I see NBA Jam, Miss Pac-Man, Marvel Superheroes. Man, that was some cab.
No, that one was the Marvel versus Capcom.
Was it really?
It was that one.
Yeah.
Mandy picked up NBA Jam. That was one that she had to have, and then she ended up getting. When we redid this room at one point, that TV was behind Turtles and Golden Axe, and originally we just had Arcade1Ups where the TV was.
Yeah.
So that was the second time I remodeled that room.
All right, so you had MK, Galaga. What's furthest down there? No Pac-Man cabs, no original Pac-Man. Nick, were you really an Arcade1Up fan if you didn't have a Pac-Man?
I had to go with the Queen, bro.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
That's the best one, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Let me see. I'm trying to remember. I know we had Rampage back there and Final Fight. I think those are the two on the end. But yeah, man, that was a couple of years ago.
And here's another person that we'll talk about later tonight. His ears were burning. My buddy Ezekiel, Chicago the Retro Ranger. $4.99 super chat. Hey, Nick, you're selling your arcades? I'll take Big Blue and Narc. I'll have CRST pick up tomorrow morning.
Well, since Mike's throwing me under the bus twice now, Ezekiel, I'll make sure to get that going for you right when Matthew heads to college. You know?
Thanks for the super chat, Ezekiel. You're awesome, man. We're going to talk about you a little bit later. So this is where you started out. Let's kind of go through these pictures here. There's your family playing these arcades.
There's my two oldest. It's Matthew and Gemma playing. And yeah, those, like I said, we spent a lot of time down. We enjoyed our one-ups. And I think for me, like you said, Arcade1Up was kind of the gateway drug or what got me started. But I've always wanted an arcade in my basement. It was funny because when I finally did this room the first time and we had the TV on this back wall and we had that little spot open, Mandy's like, well, what do you think we should put over there? I'm like, you let me get a 75-inch TV and surround sound. You can put whatever you want over there. And she's like, well, maybe we can do a little table for the kids, like art table. And then she goes, or maybe a couple arcades. That would be kind of cool, wouldn't it? I looked at her, I love you.
Yeah, it's one of those things, man. It always seemed so unattainable, like growing up, of actually having an arcade. So I think that's what really grabbed me so much when these first came out. It was, I could go get a Street Fighter for like $300. I didn't even think about getting a riser back then. And I was like, oh my God, I finally have an arcade. Of course, it's a toy recreation, but it was good enough, right? It was kind of like those classic consoles. That's the way we looked at it. And we all had that inkling or that bug to do it. It didn't seem reasonable. So then all of a sudden, Arcade1Up comes out, and we
Yep.
fill our freaking basements with these things, right?
Absolutely. But this is what I ended up doing is it was almost every single one I was putting so much add-ons into it
Mm-hmm.
to try to make it like the real thing. And it's like I'm 5'11" on a high protein diet. You know, the thing's not wide enough for me, let alone tall enough,
Yeah.
even with a riser. I mean, the Outrun, that was my favorite mod that I did, but I spent just as much money on the extras as I did on the cabinet for all of that. There was even a base shaker under there. I think I got that idea from Ralph.
Yeah, I'll never. Ralph, when Ralph was close with Arcade1Up, and he was getting like the review cabs and stuff like that. I don't know if they sent him Outrun as a review or not, but he had to sit down Outrun. Like he's doing the video, he's sitting on the floor and stuff. And I was like, yeah, man, they really, sit down is definitely the way to go for racing, but they missed the mark on this one, man. I don't know what to tell you.
I
Shouldn't be
said
sitting down on the ground like that.
I was explaining it on Moat's show last Thursday on the podcast with no name. I said I looked like John Candy in a go-kart on that thing, so I had to do something to make it look a little bit better.
Like I remember I got a sit down outrun secondhand from my buddy Mike Dalton. He sold it to
Yeah.
me, and my daughter loved it. Like for kids, I completely get where they're going from it. Like she was in love with it, but I couldn't enjoy it. Like it looked so awkward next to all the other arcades. I hated it. And I was happy to sell it back to Mike Dalton shortly afterwards. We got another $2 super chat here from Stringer Films. What was your first game restore, and where is it now? I'm guessing we're going to get into that in a couple of minutes. Hold tight, Stringer Films. Thank you very much for the super chat. And here's someone I love seeing a long time in the community. Nicole Zeke. We sold our half of our collection when we moved. I don't miss them and really don't play them that much anymore. It's weird, man. Like.
A lot of people have been doing that.
Yeah, when you get out of it, sometimes you just get out of it. I had to sell a bunch of mine when, after we had our second kid, like, things changed so much and we needed more room. So my wife, wanted a playroom for the kids. I gave up my arcade and I was like, I'm going to keep some. But, I missed it. I missed having that space that I don't have it all of it back, but I got a little bit back. But I can completely see like once you put it out of your mind and like you're really really into it, it's easy to get out of a hobby. I've done it before. I used to have like $60,000 worth of retro games around here, and like I sold it all, got rid of it a couple of years back, and like at no point do I say, man, I wish I had 752 NES games on the side of me right now to worry about keeping maintained, and if there was ever a fire, I'm going to lose them. I don't worry about that anymore. I just live my life.
Yeah, the way to be for sure. So yeah, I mean that's kind of what I was doing to everyone up. If you look at the turtles, you can see I got the kick plate graphic from Tyler over at was it Arcade Graphics?
Yeah.
Uh, and then the lit marquee. That's not the Arcade1Up version. That was Model One Turtles. And then there I go, lighting up the marquee, trying to make it look more like the original. And then yeah, it just kind of got to a point where I mean, honestly, Mike, it was a multitude of things, but it was like, okay, I'm trying to make this thing like a real arcade, and I'm
Yeah.
failing. And then I know I've shared this before, so I apologize for sharing it again for those who have heard it. But in 2020, Madeline, our youngest, was born, and 3 months dad passed away from an unexpected heart attack. And my dad was my guy. He was my safe
Yeah.
person, the one that I could always rely on. We rode Harleys together, and after he was gone, I was a wreck. Like it was, I've never grieved so hard as I ever did in my life. Like losing my dad was the hardest thing I've ever been through, and I've done some hard things and been
Yeah.
through some hard things. But my dad taught me all my woodworking skills. I used to, build furniture with him and do that sort of thing. So when Ralph was doing arcade pickers and kind of pivoting from Arcade1Up to the restoring original arcades, we were watching that, and Mandy kind of threw me an elbow, and she's like, "Why aren't you doing that?" Like, there you go. See, Mandy makes jokes in the chat, but she's kind of the catalyst to all this. So yeah, I thought about it some more. We talked about it, and I think 2 weeks later, drove down to Iowa and picked up my first game, which is now, that's where Stringer Super Chat comes into play, because now it's in his basement. But I picked up a Street Fighter Hyper Fighting, and redid the cabinet, and it got my mind right. While I was trying to grieve in a pandemic, I felt connected to my dad while I was doing it. And I, again, not trying to toot my horn or anything, but I found I have a talent in it. And I've gotten to the point where not only do I like playing them, but I love fixing them and tinkering and making them look pretty again, as much as I do playing them.
Yeah, and that's a big part of this. Like, you know, one of the things with buying Arcade1Up, like, it's simple. You just buy a toy arcade. The maintenance is pretty minimal unless something goes bad. But when you're getting into picking up, you know, 30 and 40-year-old arcades, there's another side of it that not everybody's going to be able to do it. That doesn't mean that everybody can't try. There's certain things you can do. I did want to go back one thing about your dad. I love that there's a passion there. So was it just woodworking? Like, did you guys have any like childhood memories of going to the arcade or anything like that?
Oh my gosh, my dad hated video games.
My dad kind of did too. Yeah.
I shouldn't say hate. He could care less. So my dad was a fisherman. And the biggest things my dad and I bonded over was woodworking, fishing, and motorcycles. However, I do remember this really sweet memory of my dad. My mom would go out with her girlfriends, and my dad and I would play the original NES on, TV, and we'd play that together. And I was like 5 years old, Mike, and I beat the game. I beat Super Mario, and I just remember my dad cheering. My dad was a quiet guy. Like, when he was the type of guy that not a man of many words, but when he spoke, people listened. Real reserved. Yeah. But he started cheering, and like I just thought, like I'm the king of the world right now that I beat this game, and my dad is my audience that's just cheering me on. He even went and got me, I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was a patch that you could get at the toy store in the video game section of Mario, and it said, "I saved the princess." I
didn't know that.
I got to tell you the story. So then he got that patch for me, had it sewn on my jean jacket. So I was like going to the bus stop, like, yeah, what's up, right? I saved awesome. Peach, Yeah. Funny. My wife, again, Mandy, is amazing. She's been so supportive through all of this, and she owns a frame shop, and she's also an artist. So I told this story to them about a year ago, and my son Matthew found the patch on eBay, and that was his Christmas present to me, and Mandy framed it. So now I have it hanging in my game room. Like, it's just such a sweet memory.
You're killing me here. Niagara Falls, Frankie. Niagara Falls.
I'll quit with that, though. We can quit on that. But yeah,
no, don't quit on that.
And that's basically what got me to this. Is the whole idea too, Mike, was not to have this. Yeah, it was, the whole idea was, I just need to get my mind right. Mm-hmm. Buy a game, fix a game, play a game, flip a game. That was and then it was like the first one I did. I'm like, well, it's my first one. I got to put it down there. It's got sentimental value. Well, they all ended up down here, obviously, and we got rid of the Arcade1Ups. So
yeah. So, quick question: Stringer Films, did he get a deal? He usually does. Did he get a deal?
He got a Stringer deal, but he didn't get the board. The board is actually he got my first restore, but he didn't get the board. He got everything else.
Really quickly, Jason Langlian. Jason's my moderator, one of the best people in the community as well.
Hey, Jason.
$10. Nick, tell him the tale of Sinistar. We were talking about Sinistar while we were getting ready. We're gonna go into that a little bit later, but I want to get your pictures back up here. And thank you very much for the super chat, Jason. I won't forget you. We are going to talk about Sinistar, but so next up, this is. I'm guessing this is your garage, Nick. This is where you do your work.
That's the lab, man. That's where I do all the work. That's where the mad scientist does his work. Yep.
So what do we got here? We got a cocktail. We got a cabaret Miss Pack.
Now, and that one is about the size of an Arcade1Up.
Yeah.
It's probably very close, if not a little bit shorter. I don't remember, to be honest with you, but yeah, I picked that one up. That was like let's see, I got, so that if you see the Street Fighter right up the marquee right above it, that was my
Yeah.
first one. And then that Captain America was my second pickup, which was a week later. And then I got KI2
So you
2
picked
weeks
up
after
Captain
that.
America, and then you kept going. Usually, I'd pick up Captain America and be like, "Man, arcade games aren't for me. This is terrible." I actually love that game. I love the Sega Genesis port of Captain America and the Avengers, and the arcade.
Me too.
The arcade is very similar to the Sega Genesis. That's one of the great things about the Genesis. Like that's where the arcade ports went to live on the Sega systems, right? If you wanted it done right, the Super Nintendo game is the absolute shits. But man, oh man, but I don't know if you need a dedicated Captain America. I don't know if anybody needs that.
Well, and that one never came into the house. That one was
No.
the one that I sold for more money
Yeah.
to keep fueling the hobby. And the KI2 I unfortunately destroyed by mistake.
Oh no, what happened?
There's been some video out there of me doing like a drive and a shoulder charge into it. Basically, I was moving it out and switching the game out, and I got out into so right over here is a patio door where we can move games in and out, and we have a husky. And at that moment, when I was bringing the game out on a dolly, my dog wanted to play.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh crap, and I lost my balance and it tipped over, and I cracked the hell out of it. Yeah. So
See, if that was an Arcade1Up, you could have just picked it up and moved it out of the way.
absolutely, absolutely.
We got another super chat here from Ezekiel, the Chicago Retro Ranger, $4.99. Thank you very much, Ezekiel.
Oh, thanks, man.
I've seen Mandy's art, and it's beautiful. Such a talented artist. I like to paint as well, but nowhere near her awesome skill. Ezekiel is like the kindest dude in the world. Very nice for him to say that.
So, but see, such a cool guy.
Oh yeah, he gave us all these Arcade1Up hats when we went to Chicago. So Ezekiel, we're planning on going back to Chicago, so hopefully we see you again. We're going to Pinball Expo in October. That's the plan right now. So Ezekiel, get ready. We're coming back to Chicago, and maybe we'll do WrestleMania next year. Sorry we didn't jump on board your trip this year, brother, but glad you had fun. And you went to an awesome WrestleMania too. So thank you very much. Also, Mandy, that's a hidden weapon, because if you pick up a game that needs stencil art, you got a maid, man. She can take care of it for you.
Well, let me brag about it for a second. I know we're kind of jumping ahead, but this is going in my Godzilla pinball.
Oh, nice.
So I spray painted it gold to make it look better, and Mandy actually painted all the details. Like, it's hard to see. I know, but
King Ghidorah.
Oh, it's gonna look so good.
All right, so let's take a look at these other pictures that you've got here. What did you do to this Miss Pac-Man?
Yeah, so I picked up that Miss Pac-Man, and again, Facebook Market is where I found everything. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Eventually, sometimes the cabs just find you, but Facebook Market has definitely been where I found most of these things. And then Facebook groups, once you get to know people, you talk to people. They kind of, like I said, they find you. But this one I found. Lady had it on Facebook for $1,000, and I asked her if she would go down to 800, and she said, yeah. I said, well, let me just see video, make sure that it's working. Well, she pulled it out from the wall and couldn't get it fired on. Couldn't fire it on. She goes, I don't know what happened. I'll sell it to you for 600. Just come get it. So I get it, bring it home. All it was a kill switch in the back. It fell out of place. Pulled it.
Yeah.
Thing fired right up. So yeah, it had some broken corners. It looked, little dull on the old graphics. So that was all art that I got from Joe Zabo.
Well, there's no other place to go, right? You got to go to Zabo for your art.
Zabo's great. You have to wait a while
Forever,
to get his stuff, but he does. I mean, once you get it, you're like, this is good stuff, and you won't regret it. I've never regret a purchase from Joe Zabo. It's like, again, the wait is tough.
Cranable, yeah, so this is a fair statement. I don't think it's fair for you to talk this way about your old retro nest age. You make it sound like it was something to forget about. You often brush off that topic. Why? I don't brush off that topic. I still love the NES. I play a bunch of retro games all the time. It's just, I don't need to physically own them anymore. That's the point I got to. Like, honestly, both times I've had to give up like my big collections in the last little while. I'm sorry, I'm going to bring this off screen for a second to talk about this a little bit sensibly. But both times that I've had to move away from having these large video game collections, whether it was like the full, like, let's be honest, I had more than a room of Arcade1Ups. I had like 30 plus at one point here in the house. And with the retro games, like I had so much stuff. But
Yeah.
what happened was life, man. Like with the retro games, like all the collection of retro games I had my daughter. And, at the time, we didn't have the basement. That was a rented out apartment. My wife had this. This was her office. I
Hmm.
had a room in there. Then all of a sudden, my wife was like, well, we need a spare bedroom, and my daughter needs a room. So, life moved things along. All of a sudden, I didn't have space for my stuff anymore. I was going to have to pack it up. And I was like, what am I supposed to do with that? Like, am I just going to put it in storage? That seems like a waste. Like, I never moved away or wasn't interested in playing the games. It's just owning them and having them, just became an issue because of space and life changes. And then again, the same thing when my son was born. I tried to put it off as long as possible, but we lost another room. My son took that, and then my wife was like, "We need a playroom." So things change, man. Like I haven't changed. I still love that stuff. It's just I don't love collecting it anymore. I don't need it. That's all. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't know a better way to answer, Nick. Right?
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right. So going back to this. Yeah, see, you're the reason Arcade1Up keeps doing this black and pink Pac-Man. This is your fault. I'm 100% sure on that.
So
Oh,
yeah,
there's the magical cab everybody wanted Arcade1Up to do a couple of years ago. Blitz and Showtime. What's this one called? This is the Super Sports cab?
so this one was like we have this at Starcade, which we can
Yep.
get into that in a little bit. But yeah, that's the NFL Blitz 2000 and NBA Showtime. Um, that's actually in a Konami cabinet. And
Oh, wow.
again, I was rocking my baby girl to sleep and cruising Facebook Market, and I see this come up for sale for $100. Monitor and all. I'm like, so I messaged the guy. I'm like, when can I come get it? And he goes, well, I don't know. There's a couple people. I'm like, oh man, just let me know. I will be on the road. I am so excited. I want to make this thing an X-Men again. And he's like, well, you sound so excited about it. Just come get it. So come to find
Nice.
come to find out, this guy worked at Paradise Arcade Shop, and
Yeah.
this is where I picked it up from. That started a whole big thing. So I picked this. They were just trying to clear junk stuff that they've had to. Paradise Arcade Repair Shop is like this warehouse where the owner has collected all of his games, and he's got other games in there for other arcades that they're making repairs on. So they needed the room. They sold me this and a cocktail table for $300. And as you can see, there's like broken corners on it. It had dead mice in it. It was nasty, nasty cabinet. Um,
Uh,
but if you go to the next picture, this is what I turned it into.
oh, beauty.
Little elbow grease, little Bondo, another order from Joe Zabo, and yeah, and every cabinet when I get it home, the first thing I say to myself is, "What the hell did I get myself into?"
Yeah.
And then this is what comes out of it, and it's like, yeah, this is why I did it.
See, I'm a proponent of for home use. I don't think anybody needs a six player X-Men in their home. I don't know why. Like it is so friggin' cool, but I don't know why you would need it in your home unless you need like a panic room because a human
Yeah.
can fit under the control deck in there. So unless you need a panic room to hide out from robbers, you don't need a six-player X-Men in your home. So yeah, I'm a big fan of the four-player for that.
So what's
Uh,
cool too about this one is I got an arcade switcher from Jim Riddle. So it has an 8-way switcher in it, so I could put 8 games into it. I actually have 6 games playing it. It's my
uh, see,
dedicated beat 'em up cabinet. So I got
you
both Turtles, Sunset Riders, GI Joe,
oh, G.I.
Avengers.
Joe.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I love G.I. Joe. Scarlet Sprites, I don't know if he still has it, but I followed him on Twitter when he was restoring the G.I. Joe. That's one of my favorite.
Yeah,
Like, if I could find one, that's 100% one I would love to have in my home. Arcade1Up's never making it, so got nothing to worry
that's
about there.
one that would be a good one to start with because that's
Yeah.
JAMA,
Yeah.
and we can get into that in a little bit. But yeah,
Yeah, you're going to make fun of me a bit, aren't you, Nick?
I'm not gonna make fun of you. So
Look at all
this was last summer. These were my projects.
how do you find time to do this stuff? Like that's one of the big problems I have. Like why I've always shied away from like the modding aspect with the Arcade1Ups and stuff like that is, man, my time. Like I have so little time. Like I would look at this and I would be like, yeah, man, I'm definitely gonna get into this, and it would sit in my garage forever.
Well, I started out with just taking the time on the weekends. Like I could pretty much get one pretty probably 75% done in a day, and that's
Holy shit.
just one. I mean, let me take that back. After I strip it down and get all of the graphics off and all the parts off and everything organized, it doesn't take long to put Bondo on, sand it down, paint it. That's the worst part. Putting on graphics is a matter of 10-15 minutes.
So you really like Narc. Narc made it to your actual home
Yeah.
arcade. It's there behind you right now. Now, see, I don't think anybody actually really likes Narc. I think just everybody from our time frame remembers seeing the Narc arcade cab in the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, so they think
Yes.
they need one.
I'll tell you what, to me, it fits that it's a piece of art,
Yeah.
and it hits that nostalgia for me. It actually is a very fun game. And
Oh,
to me,
I had the Nintendo game, which is actually pretty
well,
good compared to the arcade. No, pretty good. I mean, as
pretty good.
in terms of arcade conversions, it's pretty good.
The I think I liked it on there was like one of the PlayStation 2 arcade collection.
Yeah.
Yes, I played it on that one. But yeah, just the again, like a beat 'em up is fun. That's going to hit our nostalgia, right? Like we were just talking about this. You
Yeah.
went to your arcade and you saw Turtles or X-Men, and you're like, I got $2 to save the world. Like
Yeah.
that's what made it fun. But now that I own it, it's like I know I just got to spank that button for 45 minutes and I'm going to beat Magneto. And it's like it's fun to go play every now and then, but it's not something like Narc is like, again, same kind of concept. Everything's on free play, but there's more strategy. Like I didn't know until I got the arcade that you can actually arrest the criminals and not just shoot them.
How did you not know that? You
I did.
bust the criminals.
Because I was like RoboCop. I
Well,
don't want to.
I
We're
know.
here to kill drug dealers, not
See,
arrest them.
I owned the NES game growing up, so I played it quite a bit. So yeah, yeah. And not everybody, I guess, knew that. You want just want to kill. You want to kill.
Yeah,
Shoot the rockets at
absolutely.
everybody. You gotta save the rockets for the dogs.
Yeah. Right.
Super chat $2. Tell the T2 story, Nick. Stringer Films wants you to jump ahead. Are we ready to tell the T2 story?
We
Oh,
can
look at.
tell.
Yeah, we'll save the pinball for a minute because that's the future.
Sure.
Let's
Yeah.
tell the T2 story.
So Stringer and I really became friends over this one. I mean, we've been friends. We've been talking, but I picked up a Terminator 2 cabinet, and again, great restore project. It was a lot of fun to do. Probably a huge learning curve on it. Um, I live in Minnesota, which is AKA South Canada. So in the winter we get
Hockey
cold.
Town, USA.
Yeah,
Well, that's
we're the
Detroit.
state-
Sorry.
We're the
state of hockey.
State of hockey, baby.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was January. I found another Konami cabinet. I'm like, I'm gonna go pick that one up and make it probably make it a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was converted into a golf game. Drove 2 hours away, picked it up. It was like a 20 below day, and got home. And the fall prior, I had taken everything on T2 apart, and T2 is really clever. It's a unique game where the monitor actually sits on the bottom of the cabinet and reflects up into this mirror, and it's a two-way mirror.
Yeah.
So it's not like you could just put any mirror in there and make it work. Like it had these blast graphics with light bulbs that would light up every time you were getting hit and shot, right?
But does the real arcade have a behind the scenes video featurette?
It does not. No.
See?
No.
Loser.
But I will say, I think I paid the same price as Arcade One
Yeah.
Up sold it for. So
you want to know what's funny? When I bought my T2 a couple months later, I went to a guy's house and he let me try out his Godzilla and he had Jurassic Park Stern and Turtles Stern, and he was telling me that he just sold a T2 for about $800, and I was like, "You gotta be kidding me!"
Yeah.
Like I would have bought that like 100% over my Arcade1Up T2. Like you got to be kidding me. So like you miss out on so much stuff unless like it comes up so uh, it doesn't come up very often here, but when it does come up, if you're not like right on the money, like you're gonna miss out. And so much stuff people don't even bother trying to sell here. They just sell it off the island because it's
Sure.
terrible. The minute they put it up here, someone will say like a fair price. Like the guy I bought my Tron from and my Dungeons and Dragons pinball from, he's been trying to sell a Godzilla Pro and a Guns N' Roses Jersey Jack, like one of the higher end ones, forever. And you just can't sell shit here. Like basically, people call you up and they're like, "Yeah, what's your best price on that? You do 600?"
I hate that. Yeah.
And then they'll say, "You interested in old jukeboxes or something?" You're like, "No, man, money, cash."
Yeah. No, I hate that question too when people hit me
What's
up
your best
with the game
price?
I'm trying. Yeah. What's your best price? What's the best you can do? You see what I priced it at? That's the best I can do, man.
It's your job to make me change my mind about the price.
Exactly. I've actually gotten to the point where I say to people, I don't negotiate the price until you come look at it
Yeah.
and have a
I tell people
conversation
I
that
don't
way.
negotiate with terrorists.
Yeah. So I'll wrap up the story real quick about the T2. So it was 20 below, and I was trying to maneuver everything to get the new game in, which ended up being an actual Ninja Turtles, by the way. Somebody made it
Wow.
golf, but I just touched the mirror and it exploded in my hands. Like, I'm like, oh my God, what am I? I mean, I probably screamed no louder than Luke did when in Empire Strikes Back when he found
Yeah.
out, Vader's his father. I'm like, what the heck am I gonna do? I'm looking on eBay. You can't find this mirror anywhere. I'm contacting everyone I can that I could think of to try to replace this mirror. Come to find out, there's a guy in O'Fallon, Illinois, with the cabinet. He had it priced at $1,000. I'm like, would you just sell the mirror? And he said, nope. I'm like, is the price negotiable? Nope. Okay. So I'm crying like a baby to Stringer about this. Stringer reaches out to the guy and with an offer of like $400, and the guy accepts. I'm like, what the heck? So Stringer's like, okay, yep, I'll pay you. And oh, my buddy, this guy, he's gonna come pick it up for me. And so, so ended up being an 8-hour trip both ways. So it was a
Yeah.
16-hour trip. I'm driving only to replace this mirror. So I pulled the mirror, put it in mine, fully restored, sold the cabinet to Stringer for $400, sent it to him through Catchable. I think a month later, Stringer finds the freaking mirror. so, so that's the story he's referring to.
So
Every game's got a story, man. Every game. I'm telling you.
I think Stringer is if anybody's watched Jessica Jones, Stringer is the Purple Man from the Marvel universe. Like I think he just like that he'll talk to people and he can like charm them, like Jedi mind trick or something. He's just like, yeah, how much do you want for that arcade? 200? Sure.
Well, what was
I don't know.
funny is like like on Facebook Market where all you gotta do is just send an offer.
Yeah.
That's all it did. So I don't know if he like sent a virus and made the guy accept it or what.
I don't know. I don't want to. I know we're going to get into pinball in a second, but before,
Yeah.
my moderator Jason, he wanted to hear the Sinistar story. Now, Sinistar blew up. Like all you guys got it. You, Ralph, everybody was getting Sinistar console kits. Was telling me about it all the time. Oh man, you gotta love Sinistar. And I was telling you beforehand. I was like, I don't get the love because I don't have any nostalgia for the arcade. I haven't played the arcade Sinistar,
I
but I
didn't either.
played. I played Sinistron on the TurboGrafx 16 a lot, so that's where I get mixed up with it because I was like, that was okay. But tell me the Sinistar story for Jason.
So it's actually a really good segue because that cabinet that I picked up ended up being a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I was just gonna make it a Turtles again to get the money to continue to fuel the hobby. And I had played. My wife reached out to Ralph, and for my 40th birthday, we went out
Yeah,
to Galloping Ghost, and I thought it was just going to be a romantic time at the arcade with my wife, and she ended up flying or reaching out to Ralph, Kim, and Mason, and they came out, and we all got to hang out for the weekend together. And that was my first time at Galloping Ghost. And Ralph was like, you got to try this game. You got to try that game. And I'm like, I want to try Sinistar. That thing just looks awesome to me. And like, I love the history of it. And the Williams row at Galloping Ghost is my favorite row.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably my favorite row at Starcade, where I work now.
I went to that row and I didn't make it past Robotron. I just stayed there.
Sure.
But also we didn't spend as much time. My big regret about going to Galloping Ghost was how little time we had to spend there. Like our day was so tight packed. Like we were gonna go there, pinball, and then back there, and like you can't get through it in one day. I don't know how anybody says I did a day trip to Galloping Ghost and I got the full experience. No, sir, you did not.
I've been there 3 times now, and I don't feel like I've gotten the full experience.
Wow.
And the last time we were there with my family. We took the kids there, and we got a tour from Doc, and it was fantastic. And I still would I wanted more hours with them.
We didn't get a full tour from Doc, but we did get to talk to Doc a little bit, which was surreal to me because here I might be on YouTube and I might be lucky enough that a couple people watch me and stuff, but you gotta remember I live like on an island in the middle of nowhere, and mostly I'm still watching this stuff thinking like it's a world away from me. And I don't know how many times I've watched tours. Like I watched John's Arcade go through Galloping Ghost. I watched Ralph go through Galloping Ghost, and like the idea of going there and like meeting Doc Mack was just so surreal. So what happened was we went there, and I'm kind of shy, so I was just happy to go there. Mm-hmm. But B Kong is very aggressive. So B goes there and he goes, "Hey, do you want to call Doc and tell him a bunch of famous YouTubers are here?" And like I would never ever do anything like that. And he was like, "Yeah, tell him we got like 1 million subs." So Doc came down and like we got to meet him and do all the tour and stuff. That was so freaking cool, man.
You know what's so cool about that too is I'm the same way. Like I met him 2 years ago at Pinball Expo, and I was like, Ralph, Stringer,
right?
Doc Mack, and they're like, go talk to him. I'm like, what am I gonna say? You know? So I like go up and I'm like, hey man, just think it's really cool what you do. It's finally nice to meet you. And he was really cool. We took a picture, and then we actually got there for our family vacation on a Monday mystery game. So It was cool to experience that. And then I ran into him after that event was done, and I said, hey, I know you're busy, but is there any chance that you can like give us a tour? Just, come talk about it. Like I wasn't trying to like get in on the Sega R360. I just wanted to hear the man speak about stuff. And he pulls out his phone, and he's got appointment after appointment after appointment. And he goes, tell you what, just come tell the person at the counter that you're here. I will come over. I will make time. And he did. And the poor guy was getting pulled away like so many different times. And he's still I'm like, Doc, you got to go. It's all good. Thank you so much for giving us the time that you did. And he's like, hey, I get so I get so many people that come through the arcade every year, and they just want to play games. Having someone like you who actually wants to come and talk about them, this is a treat for me. So it was just really, really cool. He's such a nice guy. But yeah, Mandy did play Donkey Kong the entire time. You
gravitate to what is familiar and what you love. Like for me, it was like, holy shit! And it was the first time I ever got to physically play a real Robotron cabinet ever. So I was just like transfixed. I was like, this is what I want to do. Then of course we're there with people, and you want to be gracious and stuff like that. So I was trying to be around the group and stuff, but I just kind of wanted to go and experience stuff. So yeah.
Mandy did play pinball too. I'm looking at some of these chats. I'm glad Stringer's in the chat because he's actually answering them for me, so we don't have to interrupt the show. But
I try to leave a section at the end to open it up for questions and stuff and really interact with the chat. I'm looking, but it's hard. I'm not exactly an expert. You know what I mean?
No, I hear you. Doug Wynn, just listen to Stringer. He knows what he's talking about. You can also, you can get him. Just type in Google JAMA harness and look for the reviews, So anyways, the Sinistar. So we got back, and it was like, that was the game I couldn't stop thinking about. I'm like, man, I got to get a Sinistar. So I'm sitting there and restoring this Turtles. And again, this guy pops up in Facebook, and he actually owns an arcade and restores arcades himself and sells them. And he's like, let us know if you're looking for any games. We can try to find it for you. And I just threw an audible, right? And I said, hey, do you have a Sinistar? He goes, hey, Nick, we actually do. I'm like, well, how much do you want for it? He goes, well, we want about $2,000, but if you have anything that you want to trade for, we could talk about that. And I said, well, I got a Turtles that I'm fully restoring. And he's like, look, send me pictures. So I sent him pictures. He goes, you did that? I'll trade you straight up for the sinistar.
No way.
So yeah, I was like, I think I ended up going on Father's Day, delivering him the Turtles and picking up the sinistar, brought it home, and worked perfect. So I got my sinistar, and that's kind of what like led into like, oh, so I could do restore work on the games that I don't want to buy the games that are expensive. So that's how I ended up with Tapper and and the pinballs. Quite honestly,
I'm so glad you have a Tapper. That is such a awesome arcade game, and it's not just for the game itself. Like I know people play it on like multicades, like it's on the Arcade1Up. Mortal Kombat's forever, and people just play it and they're like, well, that's not that great a game. It's not just about the game. It's about the cab. It's about like the look, everything, right? Tapper. There's a mystique to having a Tapper in your house. There's certain arcades you want to have.
it's just like Wreck-It Ralph. My game's got to go somewhere to drink after hours, So
So before we get into the pinball, which is the next video up, I do want to talk about some stuff. Like, so you used me as an example, and I'm like the worst example in the world for this, because people look at me and they say, "Hey, remember when Mike bought that real Tron?" And then Tron was a nightmare right from the go. He should have stuck with Arcade1Ups. Tron isn't exactly your easiest game. So, like, let's be clear here. Even though it's that complicated, and I'm a complete idiot, I did find out what the issue was, and I fixed it. The only reason that I don't have it now is because the guy wanted to do, the guy who I bought it from, he came down and he was awesome enough to try to help me and shit like that. But he wanted to do some, throw shit at the wall and see what works kind of fixes. So I told him what I had researched online about how it's a connection issue and you just got to do this. And what he said was, well, let me play with the voltage first. So what happened was my fix worked. What I actually found out and researched, if I had just, you know, realistically, if I didn't call him, I would have fixed it myself.
Sure.
But what he did was he turned up the voltage and ended up blowing the sound. So it got a little bit more complicated than that. I love Tron.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to have it. I mean, that's one of those showpiece arcades you have in your house. That's not just there to play. I mean, everybody's just like, whoa, you got a Tron. That's how I make up for my, maybe less than desirable libido. My Tron. But, it is a super, super hard game to work with because it's not just, one board. It's
exactly.
multiple boards that all read into each other. So it's super finicky and super hard to fix. So tell people about, like, restoration, because that's what everybody gets scared about. I've got a poll up right now in the chat and asking people what's one of the big reasons that people don't get into it. And surprisingly, maintenance is only 21%, but maintenance is a huge part of being a real arcade owner.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, realistically, and part of this hobby isn't just about having the game and playing it. It's also about keeping it maintained, keeping it up and running, and keeping the history alive, basically.
So yeah, I was talking about this last Thursday too, and I've tried to encourage people. I don't like. Let me make it clear that I don't think this hobby is for everybody in getting into restore. I absolutely don't. You brought up a good point. You live on an island. Availability is a huge thing. Like if you're not around, what are you going to do? Arcade1Up is a good product for those people who want to just plug and play.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty about this hobby in general is there's an avenue for everybody. Maybe it's, pull it out of the box, put it together, plug it in and play it. Maybe it's, I'm going to build my own Multicade and I'm going to have it running this device and I want it to look like this with the light up buttons. That's great for those people. For me, it was, like I said, it was just a mix of circumstances where the arcade was my safe place as a kid. I wanted an arcade in my basement. I wanted the Arcade1Ups to be more like real arcades, and
we all do.
I couldn't. That's not knocking Arcade1Up for what it is. It's not a bad product, but for me, I needed to go deeper. And I'll be honest with you, I've had plenty of problems with my Arcade1Ups. And I question, what are those Arcade 1-Ups going to do in a couple of years from now? Are those monitors going to keep running? Are the PCBs going to? I mean, you can have issues with Arcade 1-Up too, or iArcade, or Raspberry Pi, right? Like
Oh yeah, you can have
they
issues with
take
anything.
maintenance.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, if you don't want to move an arcade around, they're at least 200 pounds. You got to have a way to get them into your house. Luckily for me, I have a way to get them in. It's
Yep.
dangerous, as you know. The dog wants to play the game, so. But yeah, for me, I liked to learn. I like
Yeah.
to learn. And Mike, you say I'm not that smart. Well, that's what I say about me. I had no idea what I was doing, except I knew I could make the outside look pretty. As soon as I got to the inside, I was crying, calling Ralph and Stringer and some other people, going, "How do I get this fixed?" Monitors are a pain in the butt.
Oh my God, yes.
But
Yeah.
but I will say they're resilient, and once you do fix them, they last a while. If you have, and I'm lucky where I found Paradise Arcade Repair Shop when I picked up that Konami cabinet. I became a stay-at-home dad after 12 years of ministry last year, and a couple months later, I ended up getting a part-time job at Paradise Arcade Repair Shop. So they were teaching me how to fix games and how to fix monitors. And I learned something new every day in this hobby, and that's why I love it. And once
Yeah.
the gratification comes when you get it fired up and you get it running.
See, you're like me to some capacity, not so much with this, but you talked about your dad earlier. One thing I always
Yep.
liked doing with my dad was my dad. He is like a carpenter, not really, but like that was his passion. His father before him, my grandfather was a carpenter, so they passed that down. And then when I became old enough, like I built a cabin with my dad because I wanted to
Oh, that's
learn. I wanted to
awesome.
share that experience, right? And the term eternal student comes up. You're looking for something to do. You don't want to just do something, but you want to do something productive, and you constantly want to learn and grow your skill set. So I see that doing that with that. Addicted Arcade1Up has a comment here. I got to be careful because I keep using the term real arcades, and I don't mean to use that because anything can be a real arcade. Like an Arcade1Up is a toy recreation, but it's still a real arcade. Let's call a spade here. What you have in your home is commercial arcades, correct? Not real
Sure. Yep.
arcades, commercial arcades.
Yep.
That's the right classification for them. So we're not, no one's sitting on a perch here looking down. There are some people that do, but no one's sitting on a perch here looking down at Arcade1Up.
No.
Let's be honest here. Oh yeah, this is a good question. We're gonna get into this a little bit later. Garage Gamer $2 super chat $1.99. Thank you very much. Hopefully Nick didn't sell his Motu collection.
Motu's still in the garage, baby, but the turtles, I did sell those a couple weeks ago.
I couldn't move some of my toys. Like when I started to try to get ready to buy my Stranger Things, I put all my toys up. But again, it's the island I'm on and stuff like that. There's not much of a
Sure.
market. Like I have all these Transformers like brand new in box, and a guy wrote me and he was like, "So are you looking to get collector's prices, or I'm just looking for something to toy around with? Can you sell them for that?" And I was like, "No, man, sorry." I ended up just keeping them. I was like, it's not worth it, and I'm gonna lose money trying to sell them on eBay. So because of the
Yeah.
shipping, right?
Shipping and what eBay takes out, absolutely.
Oh yeah. Oh. Anyways, before we go any further, some of the other things I wanted to talk about with the real stuff, size, weight. That's a real issue. I remember when I had my Tron, and like when I was trying to move my Tron from place to place or do maintenance on it, man, that is a different animal. You're talking about 200-300 pounds, big old CRT. I
Yep.
mean, this is not press board or whatever they use in the Arcade1Up. I forget what the wood is now. Where's where's our buddy, the wood expert, when you need him? Endless one up. But what's the wood that they're in? MDF. This was like real wood that are in these things. They're massive. So, I mean, when you're dealing with those, that's something to consider. They do take up a lot of room. You're going to become very familiar with dollies. Trust me.
Yep. Yeah. Again, this isn't for everybody, and but again, it's great for me. And the the thing that I got tired about with Arcade1Up was, will they make this game?
Yeah.
And that was probably the biggest one. Even like we were talking about this when Ralph and Justin did the One Up Weekly, and what an exciting time it was to be,
because anything was possible, right?
When John D was on there and said, "Hey,
Yeah.
this year it's X-Men, it's Killer Instinct, it's The Simpsons, it's all these other, and we're like, oh my gosh!" But I'm like, man, I don't want to wait. It's January, and I got to wait till October to get KI.
Yeah.
I don't know that I can do it.
Well, for a lot of us that have been here since the beginning, we all got a lot more smarter on what Arcade1Up could do, couldn't do, and stuff like that. And like people might watch now and say, "Man, Mike B is so pessimistic when talking about upcoming titles and stuff like that." It's not that I'm pessimistic. It's just I know, like from talking to John for the short time that I did some stuff with Arcade1Up and talking to them about what they do, knowing how they work, like that. You know what? They're never going to do a Sunset Riders. You know they're never going to do a G.I. Joe. You know they're not going to do this. You know they're not going to do that. You know the barriers that stand in their way to doing stuff, and it can be a little, disappointing. Our buddy Ezekiel, the Chicago Retro Ranger earlier, that's one of the bigger reasons he switched, and he moved over and he was like, I'm just going to get into real arcades. And I know I haven't been following close enough, but OTG, for example, like you've actually helped him. I think you sent him an MK4. I mean, that's an arcade he wanted.
I helped OTG get the Killer Instinct and the MK4, and now I'm working on a WrestleMania for him.
Oh, why does he want WrestleMania?
Well, you got to take that up with him on Thursday.
I am going to take that up with him. Damn WrestleMania, the arcade game. It's the worst of the bunch.
But
let's go with Superstars or WrestleFest, brother.
Let's go back real quick to the Tron. And again, it was the example that I was trying to use. Is I'm actually running into this now with my Paperboy. I found a Paperboy. It was my biggest restore yet. It's like, do you have a smoker? Like, do you like to smoke?
You mentioned this to me. No, I don't.
So I bought a smoker in 2020. Big mistake. You can't go anywhere, can't do anything, and you're gonna do something where all you do is eat. It's like buying a smoker and thinking you're gonna smoke a perfect brisket the first time. Or it's not an easy task. And Tron, anything in the 80s before they went to a system called JAMA, it's just they're complicated. Because like on Paperboy, for example, there's 3 board sets. You just talked about what was Tron? 4? I think it's 4 board sets.
No,
side by side?
Tron was 3 boards, and
3 boards.
There was 2 boards that fed into the 1 board.
Yeah. So and like on Paperboy, that one is notorious for going down because it ran on 2 power supplies. Yeah. So you have 2 power supplies fighting each other. The board goes down a lot. Tron's a similar issue. I don't know exactly or remember exactly the issues that it runs into, but it's just not a simple system. And if you're getting into that as your first one, can you do it? You figured it out, Mike, and that's awesome. You figured, but that's the thing. You had the passion, and that's what it takes. It's like, okay, I got this. I got the passion to fix it. I need the patience to fix this.
Patience.
I'm gonna fix
that's what I was missing.
Yeah. But when you get to something like JAMA, where it's just this into a board and these wires run to all the places that it needs to run, monitor, buttons, sticks, coin mechs.
Yeah.
It's a simpler system, right?
I had a lot of people reach out to me after my fail with Tron, and they all told me the same thing. They were like, you know what? Maybe you bit off a little bit more than you could chew right away. I mean, it's Tron. Like, that's a grail arcade to have in your home, right? Next to being able to find, for me, like a Star Wars, like a, again, Tron, Original Dragon's Lair. Like, these are just, like, Donkey Kong, like, magic to be able to find. But they're super freaking complicated. Like, there's a couple I passed up on. I wish I had my time back. There is a couple guys here that are really into it. And, like, if you don't jump on it right away, they're going to get it. There was an MK1 cab here that had an MK2 in it. And it was selling for $500, but it was like 6-7 hours away. If I had my time back, I wish I had jumped on it quicker. I mean, that would have been a better one for me to start. Even though I did see, I watched John's Arcade. He's got like a 27-part series of trying to fix an MK2, so I don't know if it's that easy.
I used to watch John's Arcade when I first began in the restoration hobby, and now I watch him to tell myself, if he can do it, I can do it.
Yeah. But I want to go back to Arcade1Up because
Yeah.
we're at an interesting time. I did a chill and chat a couple of years ago. I can't believe it's been a couple of years I've been doing this, but I did a chill and chat a couple of years ago, and I talked about is Arcade1Up a trend or a fad? And it's easy looking at things Monday morning quarterback right now and seeing Arcade1Up's not what it used to be. I mean, obviously, we don't have the huge community, the excitement that we used to have. And obviously, people are looking at it and it was like, oh, it was a fad, it was a stupid thing. But I mean, there's so many things that like people don't understand. Like Arcade1Up, it should have been a viable business model for a long time, like with the luck that they had. I mean, like, let's be honest, the pandemic was like a perfect storm, which allowed them to be as successful as what they were. But if you know much about Arcade1Up, they're a really badly run business. I
Oh
don't know
yeah.
what goes on there. But there's a lot of internal problems. Their model doesn't make sense to me. And like, I mean, you had like John D, for example, when he did that Rig Cross thing, like that would be an example of how Arcade1Up runs. Like any business not for profit knows about like wearing all hats and like making sure things are done. Like what they used to have to do to run an event like that, the lack of support they had is just terrifying, right? So what happened? I'm going off on a tangent right now, but what happened is a couple bad decisions and bad business decisions in the last 2 or 3 years have really put them in a difficult spot. And now all the things we used to be excited about aren't there. So I think that there's going to be more people that are very similar to your situation where, even new people get into the hobby now, buying the deluxe cabs, they're still super excited. At some point, they're going to hit that wall where they're like, hey, when's Arcade1Up coming out with this cab or that cab or this cab?
Mhm.
And if they still want that, level of nostalgia of having the actual art, being able to play the actual game, more and more people will get into collecting real arcades. And that's not a bad thing, man. Let's call a spade here. Arcade and stuff like that is a super friggin' niche hobby. Super niche. Anybody who gets into making like real arcade videos and stuff like that, there's not a huge following out there. Like even the tops of the tops are like 70,000 subscribers maybe and stuff like that. So we're not talking about millions of subscribers, super popular. So the thing I love about Arcade1Up is that people like me and other people, it's a easy entry point for you to get in, start learning about arcades, start learning about the history, and then maybe be motivated to go learn more stuff. Like I got fascinated, not that I wasn't before to some extent, but once I got into Arcade1Up, like going and searching out like these arcade tours and searching out like arcade history and stuff, and I just was so engrossed. I took everything in. I'd watch like documentaries like
Mhm.
Chasing Ghosts all the time, arcade tours, learning about all these different games, and I was so hopeful. I was like, man, can you imagine if Arcade1Up did a tapper cab with tapper, root beer tapper, and timber all in the one cab? And I was so stupid to think that it was possible, but I was, you know? So I think there's a lot of people out there that, unfortunately, with Arcade1Up's current position, and maybe they can get themselves out of it. I think people are going to get to that point where they're like, "When's House of the Dead coming? When's Daytona coming?" And at some point, they're going to stop and realize, probably never.
Yeah. I don't know how to speak into that other than what you just said. It's been a couple of years since I've been collecting or following Arcade1Up. I kind of left all the groups and started following
Oh, the
your group.
groups are so nice. Everybody's so friendly. Why'd you leave?
Well, I wasn't going to say it, but that's another cool part about the arcade restore hobby, or people that collect these,
Yeah.
is every yeah, you got a few of your carnies out there like any group, but majority of the people in this hobby, they want to see you succeed,
Yeah.
and they want to see you get your game up and running. They want to help, and that's what's been so cool. And a lot of these guys are into pinball, and if you're just getting into pinball yourself and you're meeting the pinball community, bunch of cool people. I mean, it's
Yeah, there
really
can be.
neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is very cool because there's no like gatekeeperishness to the arcade, like actual commercial arcade and pinball hobbies. People are so welcoming and stuff like that. They're not very judgmental. Well, some people aren't. Anyways.
Well, and again, in this hobby, you have people that I like to compare it to like if you were getting into restoring cars,
Yeah.
and you get this 65 Mustang and the whole left side is like rust.
Yeah.
There are people in this hobby that go, that's the original rust. You got to keep that on there. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I don't want to drive this rust bucket. I want to make this thing look pretty again. And then you got people who are like, you need to use the original power supply from 1982. It's like, that's going to start my house on fire. It's like, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
And for some people, that's fine. But like, they can figure out how to fix that stuff. But yeah, they're in every hobby, right? And this is what I was telling a couple of the guys who are like OTG. He's getting into it. I'm like, you just got to find where you want to be at and just go with it. Whatever makes you passionate and excited about it, that's how you're going to get fixed.
How do you feel about people that want to dabble in both, do both? Is that cool with you, or do you find that weird?
I mean, they look weird with each other, in my opinion, but...
Oh, so you got to be like that, don't you, Nick? You got to be like that.
Because I did. I had the Mortal Kombats, and then I had my Outrun, and it's like, this looks kind of silly.
I know.
My first year, I had all these games, and then I had the Arcade1Up Star Wars Pinball. I'm like, one of these things is not like the other.
Yeah, but if you can put that aside, I do
absolutely.
know. I do know a bunch of. I've got friends been in their basements, seen their stuff. There's people out there that they have real arcades. They love them, but there's some stuff that we kind of talked about it earlier. That's just either too expensive or too rare or too hard to keep going.
Absolutely.
That they're like, you know what? I'm just going to get the Arcade1Up version. Like, I've got friends out there that have Star Wars. That's a good example because Star Wars is super expensive to get. Tron, because apparently Tron's really hard to keep running. Stuff like that. And it's fine. No matter what way you want to do this, I think for me, the important thing is always, I just like seeing people play retro games. I don't care how they do it. Just do it, man. That's the cool thing, because I love talking about this stuff. And, however people get in, even going back when I collected NES games. Here's an example.
Yeah.
I collected NES games. If someone said, oh, I played that game on like a flash card, or I played that game on Raspberry Pi or something like that, we didn't really focus on whether or not it was original cartridge, on original hardware, or anything like that. We just kind of focused on, Kickmaster's awesome. Have you played Kickmaster on NES? It's so cool.
I think it goes back to what we said in the very beginning. What gets you excited and what gets you passionate, and what's the level that you want to take it to. And there's nothing wrong with having the 3/4 scales and then the commercial grade.
We got to call it commercial. You can't call them real arcades.
You can't call them real arcades, I guess. So it's just where are you at? It's about gaming, right? What's I collect Meister.
So here's the thing. There's a common misconception that people buy Arcade1Ups because they don't want to find like dead mice in their arcades. I will tell you, at one point, I did move around my arcade in the basement, and I found a dead mouse in one of my Arcade1Ups. So that's a misconception. You can find dead mice in your Arcade1Ups as well. Absolutely. Thank you for the super chat, Stringer.
It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. I mean, again, it all depends on where you pick these games up and where you find them. But, some of these ones with the dead mice, that's how you get a Stringer deal.
How many dead mice? I'm going to have to knock off $100 for each mouse that died in that cab.
Like I said, these all have a story, and that's what's so fun about the hobby too. Is every single one of these is a crazy story to pick up. Yeah.
So Nick, your story is like super cool. We're going to talk about pinball now because I wanted to bring that up. You've got it here really quickly. I do got to talk about this. So, one of the things I did want to mention was, we're at a point where it's a little bit sad that.
Sorry,
no, it is.
No, I'm laughing at Mandy's comment because she's right.
Mice and chewed gum. Yeah.
Every single cabinet there's gum.
Well, there's got to be gum. I mean, that's. Have you seen? You follow New Wave Toys and stuff like that? They're doing this new series right now. And like I joked with Shiloh about it when I got to go have a meal with him in Cleveland because he called it the Survivor Series line. And I said, "You're a big wrestling fan, aren't you?" And he was like, "Yeah, man, that's why I called it that." So we were kind of laughing a little bit, but they're doing the Survivor Series line. And that's one of the things we suggested, like little tiny dabs of like used gum on the side of the arcade and stuff like that. That's how you see the weather.
That to me, I rather deal with dead mice than someone's chewed gum.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
man. I can deal with gum more than mice.
And the places that you find it, you're just like, oh, I gotta pick at it, and it's nasty. No,
Yeah.
I don't like it.
So one of the things we're all kind of sad about is we've kind of lost faith that new titles and really cool things are coming to Arcade1Up and other areas. So the other day, I started getting messages about this. John D, he's there by all these barrels, and he throws out there, Donkey Kong confirmed. Is it May yet? So everybody starts saying, oh my God, John D is doing Donkey Kong. What an absolute troll, man.
I love that one when he put on he was putting on Twitter all the like graphics of the side of arcade cabinets, and he had one of Total Carnage, the guy's crotch, and Total Crotch Edition.
So
you can't trust a tweet from John or a Facebook post.
No, not at all. So we're all waiting to see right now in the home arcade space. Maybe we don't have a lot of confidence that Arcade1Up is going to come out with some new recreations that are going to be super accurate. I saw Retro Ralph actually posted this on Twitter, and it's hard not to agree with him. Like, I think what we're seeing from Arcade1Up is probably as good as it's going to get in terms of, you know, closeness to the real arcades and stuff like that. Because I don't know if the people there are as passionate about arcade history as maybe the former people. I mean, Scott, obviously, seen Scott Bacharach in so many interviews. He's obviously a big arcade historian fan. Then you got John D. John D was there, and John D was always fighting to do like really cool shit like Big Blue and stuff like that. I don't know if it's going to be that company going forward. So I agree with what Ralph said. Maybe the heart and soul has kind of gone out of it. But, you know, there's still hope. There's hope of New Wave Toys coming out with larger scale cabs. And if you follow New Wave Toys, I mean, their recreations are really good, Nick. Like, they go above and beyond to, like, you know, cover every detail. They're focused on making the cabs.
Cool. Yeah.
They're focused on making the cabs like 100% accurate. They're really small, but they're 100% accurate. So if they could come out with a product the size of Arcade1Up, that might be something me and you are interested in, because it won't be one of these multicades that's bogged down with 17 games and you've got to have controls configured to every one. These are going to be accurate. One or two games, and the marquee game is going to have the right controls, right screen orientation. So I'm excited about that. Then there's also hope that John D, now that he's on his own, might be doing something cool. And John D, without anybody to rein him in, could be something very special. It could be really bad. I don't know if you've ever been a wrestling fan. It might be like Vince Russo in WCW, but it could be really cool too. So we're waiting to see what that is like.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
I know. I'm pushing back to the home arcade thing, Nick. You gotta give me some space here. I live on an island. I still gotta be somewhat excited about this.
I will. It's so funny how, like when my dad and I were, I was a Harley guy.
Yeah.
I have had 3 bikes in my life, and all 3 have been Harley. And I had a couple friends who drove an Indian or Honda, and they're like, "Oh, don't make fun of me." I'm like, "You're riding, and we get to go together on this trip. I'm not going to make fun of your bike because you're riding." It's the same thing with the games. Like you're gaming. Are you enjoying it, Mike?
Sometimes, depends on what game I'm playing. Sometimes when I was playing Star Wars, I get really mad because I wasn't getting any better. It was really frustrating.
I'm enjoying everything about it, even when I have a hiccup. I get frustrated. Believe me, I do, but I'm enjoying it. And that's what it's about. I don't care what you're playing. Just have fun.
That's the idea. As long as you're not playing Paperboy with the wrong controls. That's the only thing I got a real problem with. Anybody playing Paperboy with the wrong controls, that's an issue for me. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about your story, because your story has such a cool arc, because you went from being a fan of Arcade1Up to then restoring arcades. Nick, tell us about what you do for a living now. This is the thing I want to talk about. Like, talk about a crazy 180 experience and a gateway drug here, because Nick not only went from being like a guy that just liked having Arcade1Ups in his house. Nick, you are the general manager of Starcade. Is it called Starcade? Do I got it right?
Yeah, you got it. It's Starcade.
All right.
Largest arcade in Minnesota, free play arcade in Minnesota.
How'd that happen?
Oh man, again, a long circle of events, but so let me backtrack. I went to school in my late 20s, early 30s for ministry and became a youth pastor.
Yeah.
I did that for 12 years. My wife is, again, a small business owner and an artist and very successful. And her shop was taken off, and we were kind of like, a circumstance happened where it was like, she said, would you mind being a stay-at-home dad? And until Maddie goes into kindergarten, I think we can do this. And it's like, yeah, let's give it a shot. So I became a stay-at-home dad, quit 12 years of ministry. And honestly, that was such a blessing from her, because I was getting burnt out. Not of, and I won't get into the details, not of my faith and not of people, but just burnt out of how it runs, So anyways, I started at Paradise Arcade Repair Shop, 2 days a week, repairing games, fixing games, restoring games, learning how to do things. Really became good friends with the owner, Brian Armitage, who has got his hand in many different businesses, and he's also an orthopedic surgeon. So he is third owner of Starcade. And so I started at Paradise in July. And then he approached me end of January or middle of February, somewhere in there. And he's like, so how would you feel about being the assistant manager at Starcade? I like where your personality is at. You shared with me what you would like to see done if you owned an arcade. I think you would be really good at it, and I trust you. And how would you like to be the assistant manager? I'm like, yeah, let me know. I would love to. Does the general manager need an assistant? You talk to him. And yeah, he says you'd be great for it. Let's stay tuned and we'll talk about it later. And all of a sudden, it was like 2 weeks later. He's like, so we're getting rid of him. How would you like to be the general manager? So I was like, sign me up. Let's give this a shot. And yeah, so I've been doing that now for about 5 weeks. And I can't remember the last time I have been this excited for a job. I'm able to, love on people. And I run the arcade the way I ran my youth group. I'm not trying to push anything or any agenda on anybody. I'm going to create a place where you are safe, valued, and accepted. Leave your stuff at the door, because in here you're a gamer, and we can do cool things together. And like the first weekend, we're bringing the socialization back, the physical, personal. I can't talk. Bringing it back to where these kids were in there. They didn't know each other, and they're all playing ice cold beer. I was like getting my youth ministry on, like, hey, whoever can get to the highest bubble, you get a free pop, And these kids, they never met each other. Within 5 minutes, they act like they known each other for years, and it's just a great experience. And the 30,000 foot vision for this place is that we run tournaments and charity events. Like not you don't have to be an athlete to save the world. What's the charity that you feel passionate about? Well, let's go raise your money and say, hey, I'm going to get the high score on Donkey Kong at Starcade. Will you sponsor me? Whether you do or don't, this money's going to feed my starving children, or American Red Cross, or you name it, right? Whatever's on your heart. So that's the 30,000 foot vision. And yeah, you see, you're going back to, I do a Starcade challenge once a week. Like that one was the first one I did. Come beat me in Mortal Kombat and get a free day pass.
I think you just wanted to flex your Mortal Kombat skills. I don't think you were trying to help anybody, Nick. You can tell the truth.
Well, you want to know the funny story about that is I actually called Brian and I asked for his permission. He didn't answer the phone. It was a Friday. There was only 4 people in the arcade. I'm like, I can't get a hold of him. I'm just doing it. As soon as I made the video and I posted it, he calls me back. And I'm like, well, I was asking for permission. Now I'm asking for forgiveness. I go, but here's the thing. They're not going to win.
Yeah.
No, he started laughing. He's like, "That's great engagement. I hope they all kick your ass."
So I'll ask you a question here. Something I've never seen you really toy around with. How do you feel about multicades? And I don't mean like multicade Arcade1Up or putting like a multi-board like you have in your Smash TV back there. I can see Robotron. You don't need to tell me about it. So a lot of people go out and they get these Rec Room Masters. Another option that people are looking right now is the Unico Nova Blast, and of course, the Legends series behind me. Like, what's your theory on those? Like, for me, I love them because I can just go and pop on any game. You don't need a ton of space. You can just play them. But, like, it's fine to play, like, a bunch of stuff, especially stuff you don't, like, you want to play every now and then. But if you're really passionate and you're looking for nostalgia about something, it doesn't really do the job. Like, the LED marquee, that helped, the LCD marquee, but, like, you know what I mean? It's not the same thing, right?
Yeah, the quick answer is yeah. I mean, I think a multicade's great, especially if you're a guy that's getting into pinball, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
you only have so much room.
Yeah.
This used to be a living room. Now it looks like a hallway.
And you only have so much money when it comes to pinball. My God.
And that too, So again, it goes back to how do you want to play the game? That's the good thing about a multicade. And yeah, Mister and the J Rack over here in the Smash TV are great ways to play multiple games on a cabinet.
Yeah.
The downfall for me with a multicade is it comes down to a couple factors, and one of them is the emulation. How good is the emulation? If you're playing with crappy emulation, you're not getting the true experience from the game.
Well, some games it doesn't really matter. Let's be honest.
But you're right. Some games, but there's a lot of games though, Mike. Like Sinistar, again, you think it's just a joystick. Did you know that there's a rubber band that actually has tension? So like when you're flying the ship and the more you throw the throttle, it actually has this tension to make it feel like you're going faster. And I mean, you're not going to get that on emulation.
Yeah, you're gonna have to, excuse me, I'm not that familiar with Sinistar, but from what I know, Sinistar that uses the same kind of joystick that
it's a 49-way
NFL
stick,
Blitz has, right?
A spider. It's a different type of 49-way stick, but yes,
okay.
It's a 49-way stick nonetheless. You brought it up. You're not going to play Paperboy on a bat top. It's just not the same experience.
You shouldn't.
and again, I'm not knocking anybody for owning a multicade, but I do think there's a danger or maybe danger is too aggressive of a word, but it takes away from the true experience you're supposed to have with that game. And when you got people like Doc or us at Starcade and we have the original machine, if you're like, oh, I played that on a multicade, it was a crappy game. Like, well, no, you played it on a crappy device. So that's just my opinion. I think there's two ways of looking at it, and you got to be careful with, it's like, if you spent your life's work on something, and someone says it sucks because they didn't get the real experience, you got to feel bad for that creator, right? Like Brian Colin or George Petro, Eugene Jarvis, these guys who spent their career making these games for people, and then they're saying, well, that's a crappy game because they didn't get the true experience. That kind of sucks,
It's wild. Most of these guys are still around and still like
Absolutely.
working in the industry, right? Like Raw Thrills. Good on Raw Thrills for keeping like arcade, history going right now. Yeah. Stringer Films, you're supposed to give me $2 and $2 only. That's the thing here. Thank you very much for the super chat. Nick can tell you, I'm the CRT emulation master. Now, going back to Unico, because I gotta give everybody the 19K Fox information, right? So thanks for the super chat. What do you think of what Unico's doing with the Phoenix Monitor series? I've always been a little perturbed by people putting like LCDs and stuff in the arcade cabinets because I'm like, you're killing the history of the cab. But at least with these actual, 5x4, 4x3 screens they're putting in, it's the right aspect ratio. Like, Cool Toy is one guy, used to be huge into the Arcade1Up scene. He had enough, he was done. And then him and Ralph both kind of left at the same time. Ralph went full on with real restoration of real arcades. Cool Toy was doing stuff, but he was mostly doing like he would get an arcade and then he would put a multicade in it, right? Like you put like one of these devices, or he'd put like Pandora's box or something in it, and then he put that LCD screen in there. And I was like, "What are you doing, man?" He doesn't care. He's like, "I like it like that," but
Well, yeah, once it becomes yours, you do what you want with it, right?
yeah,
I do want to jump back to the emulation thing real quick.
okay,
With one more point, just real quick. The other thing that I think that people like Starcade or Galloping Ghosts would be afraid of is, they're trying to run a business to bring the socialization back into gaming. With everyone having a multicade these days, it also can that could be another scary part. It's like why do I need to go to the arcade when I can just have it here?
it's not the same. It's not the
But
same.
it's not. But some people think that way, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, I'm done on that.
Yeah, but they're the same people that when I was doing my NES videos, they would show up to every single one of my videos I was doing as I was trying to collect a full set, and they would leave the same comment every time: "Just get a Raspberry Pi." I was like, "Oh shit! I didn't know they existed. I've spent all this money getting 700 games, and I just could have got a Raspberry Pi."
Yeah, right.
So going back to the Phoenix Monitor series, I think there's a concern in the arcade hobby that, you know what, right now they might be abundant, but what happens in 10, 20 years time? New in box to you Wells Gardners dry up. Like, where are you going to get your CRT monitors for these?
That's a great question. Nobody knows what that answer is yet. Again, these things are pretty resilient, and again, if you're getting into the hobby and you want to go the Cool Toy route and put an LCD in it, again, it's your device, right? It's your machine. Just do us a favor and don't throw away the monitor. Don't get it recycled unless you know that it's bad. That's the thing, because somebody might use it. At Paradise, Brian has gotten a bunch. Scarlet Sprites just posted this on Twitter too. He said, "You've been picking up TVs and then pull them out of the casing, and then we do a monitor swap, because the chassis are always still good as long as you reflow them, you rebuild them, but yeah, the tubes do die, and that's an issue, or you neck it, or something happens to it and it's done. But yeah, I would just say, again, it's the thinking about the others who are in this hobby, what route that they want to go and help them out. Like, I think it's cool if you don't recycle a monitor unless it has to be recycled, because there's somebody out there that will use it.
If I ever got in a real arcade collector, I think I'd just hang around the dump all day, just waiting for TVs to show up. Well, actually, we're past that point. Like when I got into retro game collecting back in 2010, 2011, like really hardcore, like that was the heyday. Like it was just like, I want a new CRT today. You go to like the local Value Village. I don't know if you got that in the U.S. We got it here in Canada. That's a thrift store that's not really a charity, but they give their money to charity. And then you get Salvation Army. But like at any day, you could literally go there and find like Sony Trinitron 36-inch, amazing TV for like $20 to $50. Like it was just a heyday. Now, like, good luck finding a CRT if you want to do retro gaming. Good luck.
Yeah, and it's funny because a couple of years ago, you get them for free. People post them on Facebook Market just because they didn't want to bring them to the dump or bring them to the recycle place. And now people are like, "Oh, $100 for the CRT. It's good for retro gaming." I'm like, "You're 80 years old, Grandma. Like, what? Did your grandson tell you that?"
I was so sad. Like a lot of the stuff that we have in our basement, in our storage room, I talked about it, is from my wife's grandmother when she passed. And one of the things was she had this amazing Philips like 36-inch tube TV. It was incredible. And it went with the house when my wife's sister bought it, and they just kept it in their basement. And like they finally decided to get rid of it. And I was like, "Oh man, come on!" They were like, "Do you want it for retro gaming and stuff?" And like I was like, and my wife was like, "No, there's no room in the house. You got that arcade. You've got all these rooms already. You've got too much." So I couldn't take it. That was kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm getting off track here, Nick. I want to go back. We talked about all that stuff. I want to talk about another fun aspect of your life you got going on here. One I'm very passionate about. There is nowhere here in Newfoundland to go play pinball. We have a very paltry, selection. We got a Guardians of the Galaxy Stern Pro and a Deadpool Stern Pro. Deadpool's really good, but Guardians of
That
the
feels
Galaxy,
fun.
I don't like Guardians of the Galaxy all that much, and they never seem to change. So, one of the things I've been traveling. Every time I travel, I just try to get to new pinball spots, try out these new games,
Yeah.
and you've caught the bug recently as well. You had a Ghostbusters originally, but that's gone. Stranger Things was your first new in box game.
Yep, that's right.
And then it multiplied really quickly there. There's your 3 games. How'd that happen?
So again, I had more arcades than I had room, and so I originally Mandy said, never mind. I'm sorry. I thought Mandy was joking around with it. We had 41 arcades. She's talking about her age. Anyways, funny story is I was actually putting Christmas lights up on the roof, and Mandy was like, she says, "Don't fall." I'm like, "If I don't fall, can I get a pinball machine?" And she goes, "You don't want a pinball machine." I'm like, "I really do." So yeah, I got my first one in 2021. It was a Ghostbusters Pro.
I love Ghostbusters.
It was such a fun game, and I do miss it. But I'll tell you why I traded up. And so we got that. Mandy and I actually go on pinball dates now because we're both. You should see Mandy play. It's fantastic.
Is she good? Like she's really good at Donkey Kong. I know that. I've watched.
I don't know what this woman's not good at, but she is. She kicks butt at pinball.
What's your top score in Godzilla? You got to tell me now.
Oh, I think I'm at 265. I looked at your score on the Stern Insider, and I'm not even close to you. So I'm chasing you though, but I think I'm 265 million. So I got the Ghostbusters Pro, and then I was like you. I'm like, oh my gosh, I would love a Stranger Things. I'll even take a Pro if I can find the right price. The prices out of them were ridiculous, and then the rumor came from the man himself, Michael B. They're remaking Stranger Things. Yeah. Okay, so what are we going to do? So we sold the Nintendo Red Tent. We sold a couple other games.
I hate the Red Tent. I don't know why all these arcade collectors pick up the Red Tent. I have such vicious feelings towards the Red Tent.
So I'm going to make you feel bad now. That was when I got into this hobby. Mandy got into it too because she grew up as a military kid.
Yeah.
And didn't have a whole arcade experience, not too often at least. So she was kind of learning this for herself. We were having so much fun doing this as a family. That was our anniversary present to each other. Yeah. So I actually drove to Minot, North Dakota and back, and it was like a crazy, again, 16-hour round trip. And I try to put the moves on and say, this is the best view from any tent I've ever seen. So I got her right across from me, right? But so we got so into pinball, and I said, look, what if we sold the Red Tent and we did a Nintendo section downstairs with just a regular console TV, and we sold a couple of other games, and that covered the cost for Stranger Things. Well, then the Insider Connected got me hooked.
Yeah.
I'm like, to me, I'll shill it up right here. Make sure you get this right here. Stern is the best bang for your buck when it comes to home use because of that Stern Insider. It was like the more I did that on Stranger Things, the more I wanted to do that on Ghostbusters, and I couldn't. Then I was like, what game? I debated between Godzilla and Jurassic Park, and one other. I can't remember what the other one was, but finally, I knew Mandy liked Godzilla.
Yeah.
And that was her favorite. Stranger Things was my favorite, so let's do that. It's funny because once we got both of those machines in the house, we flip-flopped. Godzilla became my favorite. Stranger Things became hers. And then, the Jaws announcement comes out, and I'm like, okay, so I got enough arcades I could sell and flip to cover about 70% of this.
Yeah.
So we got the Jaws, and now Mandy says that's her favorite. Is the Jaws.
I still haven't played Jaws. I'm traveling next month for work. I'm going to Calgary, so I'm very much looking forward to getting out to a local arcade. There's 2 that are on my wish list to really play right now. I want to play Texas Chainsaw Massacre from Spooky, and I want to play Jaws. They're the top 2. And of course, get back and find a place with Stranger Things, and also I love Elvira House of Horrors. And I just found out
that's a great one.
That's on the production line again now too. So
is it really?
Oh yeah, yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. My family are huge Elvira fans. My daughter, every time I travel, I'm trying to find like Elvira merchandise for her and stuff. So, yeah, I said I might have missed out on getting Stranger Things new in box, but maybe this is a blessing in disguise because maybe I can get an Elvira now.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So that's the one you're gonna go for instead of Stranger Things?
Well, I'm not really going to go for anything because I apparently had a misunderstanding with my wife because
Uh-oh.
I thought I was cool to buy another pinball machine as long as I like saved up the money for it.
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
about 50% of the way there. I fell down a couple times, as you know, Nick, and bought some other things, but I'm about
Sure.
50% of the way there on the Stranger Things Pro. And so we had a conversation about it the other night. I was telling her about Elvira, and she was like, "Wait a second, you're buying another pinball machine?" And I was like, "Baby, I thought we talked about this." So when she said yes, I think what she actually said was no, and then I just chose not to listen. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm buying a second pinball machine."
Well, I'm so glad that I got this job at Starcade because we partner with Bad Penny Pinball. So now I actually have the key to all the pinball machines there, and they got about 50. They just got Big Lebowski in last Friday.
Ooh, what's that like?
It's fun. It's fun. The theme isn't my favorite, but then again, I'm not a big kaiju Godzilla guy either, but I love the game.
See,
But
I love the theme too on Godzilla. Like it's both for
yeah,
me.
it's got the Big Lebowski's got this it's got a bottom play field where you're bowling your pinball into the pin, so that's pretty cool. But what I like about having the three here is I feel like we have one of every kind of style. Like there's a Godzilla's a third flipper. Uh, Stranger Things is your two flipper with a big bumper target. It's I'm not sure. I'm sure you know this, but that's made by Brian Eddy, who did Attack from Mars, and that's a remake of Attack from Mars,
Very
essentially.
similar to Attack from
Yeah,
Mars. Yeah.
yeah. And then Jaws Premium's got the upper play field, so I feel like every kind of style of pinball I can get. I mean, again, every pinball is different, but I got enough variety now where um, uh, I was sorry, I got distracted by Ralph's chat, but no, I got
Yeah,
it.
we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah. But yeah, well, that's the beauty about pinball too. Is if there's a game that we get tired of, we could trade it. Ralph just did that. He had a Stranger Things premium, and he just traded it for Venom because he absolutely fell in love with it.
Whoa,
Now he's looking at bot.
whoa! I missed things. I missed things here. Retro Ralph, $4.99 super chat. Ralph, you didn't have to do that. Nick isn't quite telling the entire story. He found me an awesome Godzilla, then almost kept it, then reluctantly shipped it to me.
So yeah, my biggest life regret will be that I didn't buy that Godzilla that he got. I found it was an hour away from me, less than an hour away from me. I picked it up. We got to play it for a few days, and what the guy did is, again, every pickup has a story. This guy
Yeah.
owns an auto body garage. Him and his wife just built a house, and it he had a huge like 5-car pole barn filled with cars that he restores, and then he had the mudroom, the kitchen, the living room, bedroom, bathroom, and then he had this big room attached to his house, which was where he displayed all of his cars and his pinball machines with the bar. And every game this guy got, he powder coated everything.
Oh
So
wow.
on Ralph's Godzilla, he had it powder coated to make it look like Godzilla's skin. So every piece of metal was powder coated. He had every single mod at the time that was worth having, like the Atomic Godzilla, the Tokyo sign, you name it, right? So
So he basically put Stumbler's kids to college.
he got a heck of a deal on that pinball machine. And it's like, man, it's not that I couldn't get a Godzilla, it's I regret not getting that
That
Godzilla.
one, yeah, yeah.
So that's what he's referring to.
Godzilla's so good too. Like I'm still, I will be
I love
very
it.
honest about this. I am still completely a novice when it comes to pinball. Hell, I'll tell you this right now: that score that you're chasing on Godzilla, I still don't know how to nudge. That's a
Sure.
no nudge score.
I'm not very good at it either. You should see Mandy though. She's like, she's
I,
whipping that
I don't
table.
get it. I will tell you, I'm trying to learn. Justin tried to teach me a little bit when we were in Cleveland because he was harassing me because I don't nudge. And he was like, "Oh, you just tap it this way and stuff." And I'm always like nervous and I'm tapping it the wrong way. I like that. That's the thing. Like if you actually catch me watching a lot of YouTube now, I'm watching people play pinball and
Yeah.
watching videos on how to nudge because I don't know.
The more you play pinball with other people, the better you're going to get because you're
But
checking
see,
it.
that's the problem. There's nobody here. Like we
What the
have a
heck are you
couple
doing on
personal
that
friends.
island, man? Come to
I
South
know.
Canada.
My
I need an
wife.
assistant manager.
So I've talked to my wife about moving a couple times. It's never going to happen, unfortunately, because like both of our families are here, and she works in a family business. And I was always hoping for the setup like you. Like I always wasn't a bigger guy. I was a really small, good-looking guy at one point, I guess. And like I thought I had a sugar
You're still
mama.
good
My
looking,
wife.
Mike.
No, well, thank you. Not really. But anyways, I thought I had a
Ollie.
like. I thought. I thought I had like a sugar mama situation going on. My wife was going to be a lawyer. I was like, man, I got the maid in the shade. I only got to work for like 10, 15 years. She'll take off. Nope. I'd still, I'm the breadwinner and stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm still waiting for my moment when I can go do that. So we'll see if that ever comes up. Anyways,
Getting
Ralph.
into this hobby.
Yeah, Ralph, I got to catch up on your stuff. I didn't know. I knew Ralph had a pro. He had a pro Stranger Things forever. I didn't know he had jumped up to a premium. And I remember when he first got his opportunity with Stern, like the partnership he was doing, I was like, "Oh, too bad you got Venom." And he was like, "No, I actually love Venom." And I haven't played it enough to give it a fair shake. But like from my limited experience, I was like, "Oh, Venom's not very good." And he's like, "No, I love it." And I was like, he's just saying that." And then I find out he's got one, and I was like, "I guess he wasn't." So yeah, he traded Stranger Things for Venom, and I'm like, whoa. Now, I've heard good things about Bond though, so I got to
Bond's
play
great.
it once.
Bond is a great game, but again, Ralph had Stranger Things for 3 years, and he was like, "I fell in love with this game. I'm really not playing this one anymore." That's the beauty of it; they hold their value, so
Yeah.
you can swap them out.
Well, that's the thing. When you get really comfortable and you got like a selection, like it's getting there is the hard part. Like we got a guy in Canada named Conti, and Conti's got space for
Conti's
about
awesome. I love that guy.
great guy. I spent some time with him in November. I was in Toronto, so we went around, had dinner at like the Spaghetti Factory, went to a couple pinball places. A lot of fun, really nice guy. But he's got like 3 or 4 machines, and he's at the point now that like a new machine comes out or something like that. It's not like holy shit, I gotta find all this money. It's like, oh well, okay, well I'll move out this one and bring in this one because they do hold their value, and when you get tired and stuff, you can just swap them out and stuff.
Yeah.
$1.99 super chat from Houston Amusements. Thank you very much. Do you think Stern will vault Ghostbuster? That's the rumor, brother.
And that's the reason why I got rid of the Pro 2. It was like, okay, well, if they're going to do that, then that's going to drop the value of Ghostbusters. It could or couldn't, I guess. I can't predict the future, but I'm like, that's a pretty good shot that it could if they're going to put the movie scenes in it, the Stern Insider connected. It's like, let's sell it now and not risk it. And again, I miss Ghostbusters, but I can play it at Bad Penny now, which is nice. But I don't regret my choices. We love what we have.
See, there's one place right now, one guy that's kind of testing the waters. He's got a little like video game like card shop called Kanto Gaming here. So he went out and he's got is it 4 machines? So one of the machines he's got is that Dungeons and Dragons I had. So that was what made it so easy for me to be like, okay, well, thanks Dungeons and Dragons, but time for you to move on. The other three games he's got a Stern Avengers, not Infinity Quest. He's got the Stern Avengers from the movie back in like 2012 or whatever. That's a really terrible Stern game. It's the only Stern he's got there, but he's also got Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is an awesome game.
That's a fun one.
Yeah. I talked about this. Apparently, Stern's next game is going to be John Wick, and I was like, "There's just something about like Keanu Reeves' pinball just works." Johnny Mnemonic, Bram Stoker's Dracula, and now John Wick. Then the other one he's got the Gottlieb Super Mario Bros. So it's an okay selection, but
Sure.
at least I can go there. They've got official tournaments and stuff. I'll start making time and trying to go there, but I mean, it's not that exciting, right?
Did you hear the other rumor is Pokemon by Stern? And
Oh, yeah.
If that's true with the Stern Insider connected, I bet that's going to be really fun.
So my friend Nostalgia, he just got in with that Stern partnership as well in Canada, and like he is like super excited. Like he's not the biggest pinball guy, very into V-Pin and stuff like that.
Sure.
But he's like the world's biggest Pokemon fan, and like this has completely caught him by storm now. Like he's all about, got to get my hands on a Pokemon pinball. Like he asks me every day, he's like, any updates on Pokemon? And I'm like, back off, man.
But you broke the news about Stranger Things and brought all that good news to people. You got to bring the good news to nostalgia. But I know you got some tension with that guy too. So
Ooh, nostalgia! I got no tension with nostalgia. We're like besties.
It's a joke. It's a joke.
We're besties in real life.
No, I'm teasing. Totally kidding.
We ham it up on the show together, right?
Yep. That's what I was talking about.
Ralph, thank you so much for hanging around. Really appreciate it, man. And I love to have a Nick here. This is what I do. I just have people on and hang out with them now Monday nights.
This has been fun.
Just chilling, right? So enjoy your time with your wife, brother. Yeah. Nicholas Diorio. Nicholas, you can tell the truth. Am I partially responsible for your turn into real pinball? I know Nicholas, he actually, same time as all of us, went in, got a Stranger Things. He just bought a Jaws, and he says he's done, but he's not really done. He's going to buy more. Yeah, anyways, Nick, I don't want to keep you all night. I'll go for 2 hours. I can't, well, we're at an hour and 45 minutes, so I pretty much did. I know you got to get back to your family and stuff, so...
well, thanks for having me on, man. This was a lot of fun, and again, you know, all of this is just my opinion, but it was great to share it and great to share the story, and thanks for letting me talk about it, and it was a lot of fun.
I appreciate you being so open-minded. Like, you get a lot of, you know, real arcade people, and, like, it's just like... That's it. There's no other way. And I keep saying real arcades, commercial arcades, or whatever you want to call them, right?
And again, let's look at where it's coming from. And I don't think it's just people trying to say that there's other options out there.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think anyone's trying to be like, you're an idiot if you do this. I mean, there are some, right? But I think it's more of just, hey, there's other options. Be open-minded of what you can do if Arcade1Up's not going to make that title that you've been waiting for, right? Like, there's other options out there, and I hope a competitor comes out soon, like you said, like New Wave Toys or something that will make something that will you can do that, right? Yeah,
every day I'm waiting for the announcement, either New Wave Toys, John D, or maybe Arcade1Up will surprise us and come back out and actually sell some XL cabs, because that's as close as we're ever getting to it being where we want it to be, guys. That's the truth. And Nick, it was so great having you on. I know you're a professional YouTuber now that you were on Moat Show there the other night with OTG and the guys. But you've got a pretty active, is it TikTok, where you do most of your stuff talking about Starcade?
So yeah, when I started this hobby, I did Nostalgia on Instagram just to have a place to plug my restores and kind of show what I was doing. It honestly had no real agenda to it, but I used the social media in my days of ministry to contact the kids and such, but I used TikTok. TikTok is so slick to make a video fast and get it out there, and all I got to think of is what song am I going to put with this video while it's editing it on its own. And so yeah, you can follow Nostalgia on TikTok, and that's where you're going to get my restore updates and Starcade updates. If you're in the Minnesota St. Paul area, that's where we are located, is off of West 7th in the Keg and Case Market. Again, 150 games on free play. We have Bad Penny Pinball that we partner with, and they have about 50 pinball machines that are spot on. We take great pride at Starcade and Bad Penny Pinball on making sure that the games are running smoothly and as they should.
Yeah, that was one of my sad things when I went to Galloping Ghosts. Like, they have so many machines, and like you would find like a certain one you'd want to play, and then you were like, oh, bad monitor on Star Wars, you're killing me here, Smalls, you're killing me. But like, it's so hard to keep everything running, right?
Well, when you're
especially when you got a machine
1,000 games. Yeah. I mean, we have 150 at Starcade. Last weekend was the first weekend where nothing went down. I mean, we have this app where I have to record everything that, I mean, and we get people that come in that know their games. They're like, Centipede trackball's off by 10%. How do you know that?
So, did you ever get anybody in that does that weird stuff? Like, I remember, I don't know if it was King of Kong. Yeah, it was King of Kong. The guy was there, and he was the Crystal Castle's world record holder, but he played with his feet. Do you get anybody in that do that stuff?
We have this gentleman that comes in who I'm not sure what his diagnosis is, but very nice guy, very smart, and can quickly tell you every history fact about games.
Yeah.
and he makes buttons. So he comes in with this spiked collar, spiked wristbands, and he's got this vest, and it's got all of these buttons that he's made. And
Yeah, sorry. I got a kitty litter in this office that I wish I could move somewhere else. My wife won't let me, and it is the worst.
so, anyways, he pulls up. He's always talking like, "Yeah, so Narc was made by Eugene Jarvis. I have the button right here to show you that I like Narc." And just pull this random history, and it's like,
yeah.
But he doesn't stop, and you're like, dude, I gotta bring these people up. Dude, we're gonna close. Like, you got 5 more buttons to show me, then you gotta go.
That's awesome, man. I had something else I wanted to talk to you about before you went. I'm going to keep this going because I can't help myself. I just like hanging out. Nick, where are you gonna be going anywhere? Any conventions or doing any fun stuff like that in the near future? Am I ever gonna get a chance to hang out with you in person? Stringer Films was kind enough to offer me to come stay with you guys for Pinball Expo last year, and he's offered to throw me some help with getting to Southern Fried Gaming. So, you guys going anywhere soon?
So yeah, I'm not sure what the summer holds for me. I would really hope to go to Pinball Expo for the 40th.
Yeah.
The nice thing about working at Paradise and Starcade and being tight with Brian is he's been very helpful. I think he's just excited to have somebody that's working at Paradise that's just as excited as him about the game. So he's asked me if I would attend Combo Breaker, which is going to be coming at the end of May and running that tournament. He's also said if we want to bring, he's got a company with one of the owners of Starcade. It's Reproduction Arcade Games, and they're reproducing ice cold beer. So you can get ice cold beer brand spanking new. They're about $5,500. But yeah, he's like, if you want to bring a couple ice cold beers down to Southern Fried Gaming, I'll pay your way. So yeah, there's a lot of things in talk, but we'll see. I hope to be at Southern Fried Gaming. I'm sure Stringer's going to super chat saying that I'm going.
Don't super chat. You can just make a normal comment. We'll read it.
But Pinball Expo, I would really, that's a 6-hour drive for me, so that's not so bad. I would love to get to there.
Jason, you don't need to super chat either. We would have thrown it up there. We would have made sure. What 80s, 90s pinball would you not pass up if the price was right? $5 from Jason. Thank you very much.
Oh, great question, Jason. Everybody talks about Addams Family. That's a great one. Honestly,
there's enough of them out there. People don't realize that, right?
Yeah.
Best-selling pinball machine of all time.
So expensive. I think I gotta say 2, Jason, and that would be Monster Bash and Cactus Canyon.
Man, people love that Monster Bash.
That's I love Monster. But I grew up on the black and white monster movies, not the
the Universal monsters are incredible. Yeah.
So that's my type of Halloween, my monster movie. It feels I love that nostalgia hits me so hard.
I didn't grow up on the black and white monsters. I kind of did, but I didn't because I grew up with a movie called The Monster Squad, which is essentially the black and white monsters. That's a great one,
right? Yeah, absolutely.
So good choices. For me, either the Elvira games would be top of the pops for me. Party Monsters or Scared Stiff. Both games are incredible. And obviously Attack from Mars is the one, right? I would have Attack from Mars over pretty much everything. If I was a short, I could keep it running.
I got Stranger Things. It's close enough, right?
No, it's not the same. You know that.
I'm kidding. I'm joking.
Man, the plan right now is I'm just waiting to get my tax return, and then I'm going to book my shit to go to Pinball Expo. So
yes,
hopefully you can go too, and we can go hang out.
We will make that happen, man. It'll be great to meet you in person.
Spend some time at Galloping Ghost, bring whole community together. The whole community. We're all going to be friends. None of this shit. We're all going to hang out. Go get some good food, drink some beers, and play some arcades and pinball in Chicago. So, yeah, saw Gorger for $3,000. I'm not that familiar with it. I know they're doing a remake of Gorger now.
Yeah, I'm not sure of that one either.
I like weird. I'm a big horror movie guy. So another one I've always wanted is Nightmare on Elm Street. I got to try it for the first time when I was in Galloping Ghosts. They got a real horror movie. Aesthetic there. So I enjoyed my time with Nightmare on Elm Street.
Creature from the Black Lagoon is pretty cool too. For an older one. That's a neat one. But yeah, my buddy of mine who I met, again, I sold him a Contra and now we've become friends. He lives near Console Kits actually. and he just picked up his first pinball 2 weeks ago, and it was a Nightmare on Elm Street. He got it for 3K.
Oh,
Yeah, 3K.
there was one here for it was about 5,600 Canadian. The other thing about where I'm too, what sucks is the Canadian dollar.
Pricey.
Canadian dollar sucks right now. So like you're looking at Stearns and you're like, yeah, getting a pro is 6,900. That's $11,000 Canadian.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So
Wow.
right, like when I say I'm about 50%, I don't mean like I'm at like 2,000-3,000. I'm
Sure.
at like 6,000-7,000. Right?
Road trip to the States, baby. Get it and bring it back.
Yeah, and then they catch you at the border and they're like, "Oh, what do you got there, buddy? You gotta pay,
That's
you
true.
gotta pay like $3,000 tax on that."
Oh, that's
So
terrible.
yeah, I'm looking forward. And guys, throw in the chat. I've got an opportunity to go back to Cleveland as well for the Gaming Classic. I don't know if I can do both, but if anybody's going to any conventions, I'd love to hear about it because I don't get to travel very much, and when I do, I try to pack as much stuff as I possibly can in, meet as many people. Even though I'm not a good featured guest, I will not stay at my table. I will tell you that right now. I just want to go and hang out with everybody. So let me know where everybody's going, and hopefully we can connect because I'd love to go back to Chicago and really take some serious time. Like the thing I don't like about Pinball Expo with our trip that we're talking about is they're like, oh, we're going to do all the factory tours. And I'm like, I just kind of want to go to Galloping Ghosts for 4 days, guys. Yeah. Anybody got any questions before we go? I'm gonna, I know Nick's got to go, but I'm gonna make this stay there forever. So I always try to. I don't do the whole hello, but if anybody wants a shout out or has a question, now's the time to ask, guys. I know it's been a long night, but I'm gonna keep it going because this is fun for me. SoCal Gaming Expo Retro Ralph is a featured guest. Riff owns SoCal Gaming Expo. You don't call him Riff. His name's Aaron, even though he doesn't want us calling that. We just gotta call him Aaron. Giovanni, I don't know if you've ever seen Giovanni in the modding community. He does all the DDR mods and stuff like that. Are you gonna ever add a DDR to your collection?
I am not, but we do have an awesome rhythm collection at Starcade. We got some games that are actually imported from Japan, and we have DDR. So if I want to get my DDR on, that's where I'll do it.
Nice.
That's the nice thing about working in an arcade. I'm like, I got my favorites, and I can always go play what at work,
Garage Gamer wants to know what our usernames are on the Stern Connected app.
Oh, I have to look. I think mine is Nostalgia. I think just the way I do it on the Instagram, Ryan. So
Who's Ryan? You mean Garage Gamer
Garage
on
Gamer,
Instagram?
yeah.
I know.
I met Garage Gamer in person.
You
last
doxed him.
school.
You doxed him. What? I'm signed out. What the hell's going on here? I think I'm just MichaelBtheGameGenie on here. But
Yeah, I think that's right.
Because I'm connected with you, I think.
We are connected because that's how I knew your Godzilla score. I was so proud of my 265 million. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, man, that Michael B.
Well, I'll ask you now while we're waiting for questions to come in. So how do you play? Like, what's your? I don't like looking for the rules, and I like trying to figure things out on myself. So what I've been doing, and what I used to be able to get to 300 pretty easy on, was I would build up my multi-ball, and then I would go into a mode right before the multi-ball, and then especially if you got like the Geigen, like power up, and then you hit that multi-ball, like you can get 300 easy, right? It's just a matter of knowing which monster battle to go into for multi-ball, which is the best one. Titanosaurus is usually the best to pair with multi-ball. Geigen, what you want to do is you want to get your building down from multi-ball, but not at multi-ball. Go into the mode, and then you can just use that one ramp, the easier ramp shot, over and over again, and it'll keep coming back. And then, like usually, if I don't have anything going on, and I go into multi-ball, I go into what's the one with the spinners? Ebera.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure that I'm still kind of learning all of it too, but Godzilla is probably the one I know the best on
so easy to
strategy.
Play.
Yeah. And yeah, I definitely go for Geigen first for my first kaiju battle, then Titanosaurus, and after that it's pretty much just what I can do. But yeah, saving that multi-ball for those two kaiju battles and trying not to. My thing is, it's like lately, like when I've been trying not to hit like Mecha Godzilla multi-ball, I get that one, and then I got to go through that multi-ball first before I can get back on track to what I'm trying to do.
So, guys, I'm Michael B. GG. I don't know if that's there. There's my Stern Insider Connected. Come see my one game I get to play all the time.
And there's my nostalgia. You can't see it. NIK nostalgia.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. I have a question, Nick. Can you, Mike B, and I start our own 3/4 scale home arcade company and show these companies how it's done?
No.
So I don't know. I don't know. Like I love talking to Cornercade. I can't wait to go on his show because like I remember he's so excited and so positive for like Arcade1Up and like what they're doing. He hasn't been beaten down like us knowing that certain stuff isn't coming, right?
You know, again, I think like when it comes to this hobby or any hobby, if you've got the passion like Cornercade, that's the number one thing that you need. The second thing is your route and finding that road. But I think if when you got the passion to fuel it, that's a good start, right?
Oh yeah, like if I can find a Robotron, like I dream of it. And I also look at all the deals I passed up on, like stupid stuff. Like there was a guy, Bern Hickey here, who used to be like a big operator. And I just randomly one day, like he was on a CBC News story that he was selling pinballs in arcades. And I just went to his house, like, unannounced, went to his house and I was like, hey, you got any arcades for sale? So he took me down in his basement and like it was pretty much all cleared out and everything was in rough shape. He had a lot of Frankenstein cabs, but he had a Bubbles there and he was going to sell it to me for $200. And I mean, this thing was original. And I was like, maybe I'll come back. And I screwed up $200. I could have had a Bubbles. Like it needed a lot of work, but
that game is so underrated. Like it's
totally
such a stupid concept, but it's such a fun game.
Oh, so good. So goddamn good.
It's actually the same setup as Sinistar. Same type of 49-way joystick and
No way.
spider band. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Love Bubbles. Like it is just so dumb, but it's so good. Jason's throwing out the chat here. Another one that I missed out on was very early in my time. A lady, and I guess she was just selling this. It was in their house. Was selling a Return of the Jedi for $600, like perfectly working. Return of the Jedi, $600 Canadian. And I was like, I could buy that, but I'd rather buy the Arcade1Up because it has all 3 games. Like,
okay, I'm signing off
right?
now.
Stupid.
I'm signing off now.
But like few and far between. But I missed out on a couple opportunities I really regret. Most of the stuff is all junk. Like if you look at what's available now, it's all Frankenstein cabs. Like one guy's got, I don't even know, it's like 6 arcades patched together to form a Mortal Kombat, and he's like, $2,500, no low ballers. I know what I got. I
remember talking to Dreamcast Kyle a lot about that. When he went from the 3/4 scale.
He's another one. I used to talk to him all the time in One Up Weekly and stuff, and he went to commercial.
He's just like telling me the prices and the places he's got to go to get these games, and it's like, man, that's crazy.
Yeah. Okay, so for the poll, really quickly, what has stopped you from collecting?
Real quick, Stringer Films, Bubbles, and Cornercade. My roots were at Aladdin's Castle, not Arcade1Up.
So, what has stopped you from collecting real arcades? Number 1 in the poll. I'm not surprised. A lot of people feel this way, and this is why Arcade1Up works. Size, weight. I mean, they're big, they're heavy, they're bulky. If you don't have the right space for it, like say you're putting these in a loft or something, I mean, yeah, good luck. You ever see Cool Toys video where he talks about like him and like 6 other guys getting that Street Fighter upstairs in his house?
I did see that. Yeah, I think that was a couple of years ago, right? Like,
yeah, long time ago.
And that's the thing. If you got stairs that you got to bring these things up, and then this is probably not the hobby for you unless you want to lift them, But
yeah, 35% said price, 21% said maintenance, and only 6% said availability. 274 votes. I put availability in there because that's my life story. I live on an island and shit does not come up here. So, really quickly before I go, I got to show this as well. So, I don't know if you follow Arcade1Up on social media.
I saw that today.
So they posted this video and like, man, So first up, Cyrus walks in. So he says, I work at Arcade1Up. So of course I wear Arcade1Up branded merch. And I was like, it's all I've been asking for 4 years now, for you to make a shirt and sell it that just says that. It's been impossible. So that's where it starts. And then we go from there. And there's Nicole. And Nicole goes over to the new Golden Tee 3D Deluxe. And she shows her skills as she absolutely plunks the ball from the rough all the way to the other side in the cabin there. She's like, I totally play games all the time. Then this girl plays Pac-Man on a collectorcade while they're gaming. And then for some reason, David McIntosh has dogs. One thing I'll give him a lot of credit for, at least the camera work and everything's really good. I don't know, man. I don't know who they market to sometimes. I think they're marketing towards kids. I don't think they're marketing towards the audience that, are the core audience for the product. I think they're marketing for more of a mainstream children's type thing, right?
Absolutely.
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 Anyways, not being too hard. Like I do like the fact that they got the old cabs there, the history and stuff like that. That makes me smile. I was trying to see if there was anything hidden there that we might see, but the only thing really is a close-up look at the new Golden Tee 3D Deluxe that's coming out. So that's the only real peek we get here. This girl with the collectorcade, that's actually been the only one ever sold, is the one she's playing with.
Really? I didn't see it. It's been a while since I didn't even know they did that.
Yeah, so when everybody else was making like 1/6 and 1/4 scale like real arcades, Arcade1Up said, you know what the market's looking for is a very tiny version of an Arcade1Up, not a real arcade. We want an Arcade1Up.
Didn't they talk about something like a pillowcade or a couchcade or something?
Oh, they had a couchcade with a pillow on it.
Oh my gosh! What did you ever get the Wheel of Fortune one?
No. I'm past the need to buy everything. I'm so past the need to buy everything at this thing.
Good man. Good man.
Last but not least, one thing I did want to talk to you about. You're a toy nut, kind of like I am.
Absolutely.
Huge toy news came out yesterday. Arcade1Up, you might have seen him back in the day when Arcade1Up first came out. This guy, Geek Dad Life, I found his channel originally because he was always going out searching for Arcade1Ups with his kids, but he's become a huge toy channel now. So the news yesterday was this company Mondo, that is like a subsidiary of Funko Pops, announced two new toy lines. They're doing a 6.5 inch Thundercats.
Oh,
but the
nice.
big news was they're doing a 6.5 inch line of the real Ghostbusters. And honestly, man, it made me so friggin' excited because there was a lot of toys from the Kenner line originally, like really cool, but a lot of stuff they missed out on. So these aren't the real ones. This is an artist's image from a couple of years ago of them doing the toys. So here's the fan art concept. I didn't do that right. But anyways, let's see if I can open this in an open image in a new tab and make it bigger. Here we go. But this is what they basically said. So we're talking about really high detailed versions of the real Ghostbusters. And what made me really, really excited was the idea of them doing some of the bad guys we never got. I almost thought about doing a video about this, but like when there was real Ghostbuster toys, we never got really any of the iconic like characters like the Boogeyman, Sam Hain, the Sandman, the Grundle. Like there's so many possibilities. I'm so freaking excited about this Mondo line and what it could be. Look at that fan art concept again, but like, man, these could be really badass.
That's really cool. Yeah, the ones I like the most. Someone asked me in the chat earlier. Is the main thing that I collect is Masters of the Universe, and then Thundercats was my other favorite. So they got some cool stuff by Super 7 on those. But
oh, Super 7 did do a Thundercats line? I'm catching up on Super 7 right now.
They're on their like 4th or 5th wave.
Wow. So there's Mondo. Like I think Mondo are going in a different direction because I don't remember Lionel having this little area down here. Is this canon? That's little
not.
Skirt thing here?
No, that's not. You know who I like to watch when it comes to this stuff is Pixel Dan. He's just
I love Pixel Dan.
Positive, nice guy, and doesn't feed into the ridicule. And just says it like it is. This is what I think the toy company is going to do, and then what I like is when people get you excited. Be excited with me, you know. That's why I like Pixel Dan.
I know Pixel Dan from way back in the day on YouTube doing like the retro gaming stuff, and he's a wrestler too. Hey, did you know that?
I did know that. Yeah, that's funny.
We used to talk about it. There were three of us at the time, and I was very small potatoes compared to these other guys. So like I was on the outside really looking in, but there was 8-Bit Eric wrestled, Pixel Dan wrestled, and I wrestled. So that was a little bit of kinship we all had with each other, right?
That's really cool. That's really cool.
But those guys are big time. I was just like, weirdo little guy on an island.
Well, that's good stuff. Thanks for showing that to me because I had no idea about those.
Well, I'm really excited about the real Ghostbusters ones. That's got me.
That cartoon.
Yeah. Amazing cartoon too. Like if people don't realize this, go back and watch it. Like that cartoon is leaps and bounds above like what other things were, especially the first season before Dave Coulier took over as the voice for Peter. Back when the guy who did Garfield was the voice for Peter. That guy. I can't remember what his name is.
I can't remember his name either. But are you enjoying X-Men '97?
Oh, so much.
Oh my gosh, I've been having so much fun watching that with my kids and. It's been so much fun to really see my kids get excited, but my son, he's now like comic book collector, and we're wishing that we would have picked up the line of toys that they had, but we missed out on those ones too. But
those are really neat. Which ones? The
X-Men '97 ones.
That's wild how quick they went, right?
I can't believe that they're just leaving money on a table like that and not doing another wave of them.
I absolutely don't understand toys. Like it frustrates me so much. I love toys, but I also hate them because I'm the kind of person, I don't want to pre-order this stuff. I just want to go find it in store.
Thrill of the hunt. And that's another reason why I like doing this, the thrill of the hunt.
Yeah, I mean, there's no thrill to pre-ordering something on Amazon. I like looking for stuff in stores, right?
Yep, it's just a bill.
Yeah. Nicholas said, have you guys watched Invincible? Saw those toys came out or something? I haven't. That's on my list. I'm trying to rekindle my relationship with my wife because I've been so busy. No, this is a real thing. I've been so busy. I haven't really taken time to be a good friend to my wife. So like I'm going back now and like trying to make time to watch stuff with her. So we've watched The Boys. I'm watching Jersey Shore with her now.
That's funny. No, I was laughing at something in the chat, not at you. I think that's fantastic that you're doing that. Mandy and I just revisited 90210, the old 90210, Melrose Place, and now we're watching Pretty Little Liars. So yeah,
I watched Melrose Place originally.
It hit the nostalgia. But speaking of rekindling with my wife, I should probably go upstairs and help get the kids to bed.
You sure, Nick? I got another hour. No, you go on. Nick,
I would love to talk to you for another hour, but no, I should really get upstairs and help get the kids to bed.
This is a first. This is the first time the guest has said, "Cut it out." That's enough, Mike.
It's again just trying to get my kids.
No. I understand completely. I will keep you here all night. I can't help myself.
No, Nick, I love it. Thank you for having me on, Mike. This was fun.
This was a blast, man. You should come back sometime. We can chat for another. Well, I'll try to keep it to 1 hour next time. I promise.
You can keep it for 2 hours. You can keep it. Yeah, please let me know. I would love to come back. Thank you. Thanks.
Anyways, guys, go check out Nick. Go to Starcade when you're in Minnesota, and hopefully, if you guys come out to Pinball Expo, which we're planning to do, you guys will get a chance to meet Nick in person. We all go hang out. Go play, what is that game that everybody likes? No, what's the one, the multiplayer game I played with Bob Boyf and his kids? It's The Grid. We can all play The Grid together.
We need to play The Grid. I'm trying to get the owners at Starcade to get 3 of those because it's such a good game.
Yeah. And Lorenzo Music was the guy who did Peter's voice.
That's it.
How can I forget that name? Anyways, I'll keep him here forever. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Nick. Good night, everybody. See you next week.